Chapter 1561. Lin Mo's True Talent. Lin Mo received a jade book with a few large characters engraved on the cover in a flamboyant style, rune language. Rune language had about 100 pages, each made of extremely thin jade pieces. The jade tablet was specially treated and was extremely strong, even a god Venerable would find it difficult to destroy it. In terms of material alone, it has surpassed the scope of god Venerable realm materials. It is at least a other shore realm material, extremely precious. A thought suddenly popped into Lin Moyu's mind: if he used it to summon an elemental lich, what level of elemental lich could he summon? This absurd thought flashed by and was immediately extinguished. If Lin Moyu dared to do this, old ancestor Shu would definitely strangle him. He could see that this talisman language was very precious. Old ancestor Shu stood aside and instructed, many of the runes in the book require a god Venerable to learn and comprehend, especially those related to the laws. Before you reach the god Venerable realm, the main thing is to understand the runes and have a clear understanding of them. Other basic information about runes, you can check it yourself when you get to Divine City. Lin Moyu could understand the meaning of his words, meaning that the runes I gave you are relatively high-end. As for basic knowledge, you can learn and comprehend it yourself. Lin Moyu bowed to old ancestor Shu. Thank you, senior. Old ancestor Shu hummed, take your time to study it. Runes are a very profound knowledge, it is more difficult to master it than to comprehend the laws, so don't be impatient. After he finished speaking, he turned and left. Lin Moyu did not check the talisman language immediately. He had never formally come into contact with runes since he started his cultivation. The earliest time he came into contact with runes was from Meng Anwen. But that was because of Meng Anwen's own profession. Meng Anwen was an array mage, and the runes he used were also various array symbols. Those runes were equivalent to his spells. He did not need to deliberately comprehend and learn them, and he could not teach them to others. After arriving in the Great World, he did see some runes, but they were all scattered and unsystematic. If he wanted to learn runes, the best way would be to start from the very basics and learn systematically. Lin Moyu didn't know why, but he seemed to have a great interest in runes. After seeing the Soul Fire rune, he even felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had seen it somewhere before. From that moment on, his curiosity about runes was ignited. He calmed down, emptied his mind, and unified his spirit and soul. Then he opened the jade book. The first page of talisman language has a rune engraved on it. The rune is not complicated, adding up to only 10 strokes or so. At first glance, it looks crooked and has no aesthetic appeal. The various runes he had seen before, even the lowest level ones, were far more beautiful than it. Not only beautiful, but also far more complex than it. But after looking at it several times, he found that this rune had a peculiar charm. Although simple, it contained extremely profound principles. And the more he watched, the more obvious this feeling became. The rune was no longer ugly, but became more and more beautiful. Lin Moyu's attention was unconsciously attracted to the rune. Then the power of the soul moved naturally and touched the rune. In an instant, the entire rune seemed to come alive, and Lin Moyu understood the true meaning of this rune at this moment. If this rune is described in the language of the Great World, it has the meaning of elaboration. What it elaborates is various information about runes, not basic knowledge, but tells Lin Moyu how runes are classified and what their functions are. It is equivalent to the instruction manual for the entire talisman language. The rune continued to resonate with the soul, and a large amount of information was transmitted from the rune. The first page of talisman language began to shine. On the tea table not far away, old man Lin smiled. You are really willing to give him the talisman language. This is your hard work, are you really giving it away like this? Old ancestor Shu nodded. This thing is hard work, but it is useless to me now. The little ones in the family are not up to par and can't read the records inside at all. Old man Lin was not surprised. You don't know how difficult it is to resonate with ancient jade. Even you spent a month to resonate with it, right? Old ancestor Shu hummed. Indeed, I wonder how long it will take Lin Moyu to resonate with it. Old man Lin smiled. What is the best record of the juniors in your clan? Old ancestor Shu said, the best record is 3 months, but they can only read the first 10 pages, and the rest is not possible. At this moment, a peculiar aura was transmitted. Old ancestor Shu was shocked and turned to look. Lin Moyu's whole body was surrounded by a ball of light, and the ball of light came from the talisman language in his hand. Old Ancestor Shu stared at Lin Moyu with wide eyes, unable to speak for a long time. Old Man Lin was also taken aback. How is it possible so fast? Holy Venerable Hao revealed a meaningful smile in addition to his shock. He was optimistic about Lin Moyu, and Lin Moyu's performance did not disappoint him. Talisman language is not a simple book, not something you can read if you want to. Saying it is a book, it is more like a magic weapon. To view the contents, you need to resonate with it. This resonance is very strange. It is not that your soul is strong that you can resonate. With Old Ancestor Shu's other Shore Realm soul, it took a full month to resonate with it. The shorter the resonance time, the stronger the talent in the rune. Conversely, it means there is no talent. Old Ancestor Shu took a month, while Lin Moyu, less than 10 minutes. The gap between them is immeasurable. After a while, Old Ancestor Shu murmured, I am really not qualified to teach him. Holy Venerable Hao chuckled, you don't need to belittle yourself. Looking at the great world, your research on ancient runes is undoubtedly ranked first. Old Ancestor Shu shook his head and smiled bitterly, that's just temporarily first, he will surpass me soon. Holy Venerable Hao said, I have a way to keep you in first place. What way? Old Ancestor Shu asked immediately. Kill him. Holy Venerable Hao pointed to Lin Moyu. Old Ancestor Shu knew that Holy Venerable Hao was joking with him, and said angrily, although you are a Holy Venerable, I will still turn against you if you tease me like this. Holy Venerable Hao laughed loudly, you are too serious, it's good to joke occasionally. Old Ancestor Shu ignored him and looked at Lin Moyu, marveling, he is simply born for the rune. Old Man Lin suddenly thought of something and whispered, if you can study those ancient runes thoroughly, can you unlock some of the secrets of the ancient times? Holy Venerable Hao's eyes were thoughtful, maybe yes, maybe not. But it's too early, all this has to wait until he sets foot on the other shore realm. Old Man Lin smiled, but no matter what, there is hope, isn't there? Yes, at least there is hope. At this moment, Lin Moyu resonated with talisman language. An extremely huge rune appeared in front of him, transmitting a large amount of information. This information seemed to open up a new world for Lin Moyu. He knew the function of runes and the approximate classification of runes. Runes are the foundation of the Great World. All runes have the same source, Great World runes. In this world, the laws, power, realms, spells, and the rules of the entire world can be explained by runes. Learning to master runes is equivalent to mastering this world. And the ultimate goal is to control the Great World runes. Chapter 1562. Rune Classification, The Power of the Other Shore. Lin Moyu quickly digested the knowledge brought by talisman language. In the book, Talisman Language, runes are divided into 5 categories. The first is the most common basic category. This type of rune is the foundation of all runes and the most numerous of all runes. For example, using runes to outline certain spells, and using runes to cast spells. The spells here don't necessarily have to be spells you've mastered yourself. As long as you understand the principle of the spell, you can cast other people's spells as well. It's just that without the corresponding laws to cooperate, the power of the spell will be greatly weakened, or it will be just a form without spirit. The second is law-based runes. Compared to spell-based runes, law-based runes are on a higher level. It represents a certain law. When cultivated to a deep level, it can even manifest the law. The manifestation of the law has no effect on the existence of the other shore realm, but it has a very large effect on cultivators below the godly venerable. If there is a materialized law as a reference, the speed of comprehending the law can be increased several times. The third is rule-based, which can use runes to cast rules. Lin Moyu was still in contact with the word rule for the first time, and he had never heard of it before. What are rules? In rune language, the level defined by rule-based runes is very high, even higher than law-based runes, indicating that rules are very powerful. The fourth type is combined runes. The previous 3 types of runes are all single runes. Fusion runes are used by combining various runes, either to enhance the power of the runes or to form rune arrays. Once you master the combined runes, the effect of the runes will be infinitely expanded. The 5th type is creative runes. Among the 5 types of runes, this type of rune is the highest level and the most difficult. Rune language does not explain in detail, but only gives a definition. Lin Moyu guessed that the soul fire rune should belong to the creative rune. Giving wisdom to living beings through a large amount of soul fire. Isn't this a kind of creation? But this is not real creation. In Lin Mo Yu's understanding, the real soul fire rune does not need to borrow external soul fire, and can directly give wisdom to living beings. Old Ancestor Shu's soul fire rune should have gone the wrong way. After a while, Lin Mo Yu slowly opened his eyes. The information on the first page has been completely digested, and Lin Mo Yu also has a systematic understanding of runes. The runes recorded in rune language are actually low-level runes. There are no records of true high-level runes. Combined with Old Ancestor Shu's words, Lin Mo Yu knew that high-level runes could only be accessed at the peak of the godly Venerable realm at the earliest. At this time, the palace was closer to the godly city, flying around the godly city. It is estimated that after a while, it could truly arrive at the godly city. Lin Mo Yu calculated that it would take almost a day from their departure to their arrival at the godly city. This is because the palace is fast enough. If it were replaced by an ordinary warship, the time would be extended. The human race naturally has its own considerations for not setting up a teleportation array that directly arrives at the godly city. In this way, if the enemy wants to attack the godly city, they can only fly over honestly. It is impossible to carry out a surprise attack through teleportation. After Lin Mo Yu digested the knowledge of runes, he couldn't help but have a few questions in his mind. It just so happened that there was another shore realm old ancestor here, so Lin Mo Yu immediately had to ask shamelessly. Before he could ask, Holy Venerable Hao spoke first. Little friend Lin, now you have some understanding of runes, tell me your feelings. Lin Mo Yu responded, the path of runes is broad and profound. This junior hasn't even touched the surface, so how can I have any feelings? Old Ancestor Shu looked at Lin Mo Yu as if he were looking at a rare treasure, but he pretended to be profound. You have a strong understanding of the path of runes, and you are very suitable for taking this path. In the future, during your cultivation, you must devote some energy to runes. This junior understands. Lin Mo Yu naturally understood this principle. Holy Venerable Hao said, if you have anything you don't understand about the path of runes, you can ask now. Lin Mo Yu had been waiting for these words for a long time, and immediately opened his mouth. Several seniors, I want to ask. Rune language divides runes into 5 categories, one of which is rules. This junior doesn't understand. What are rules? Holy Venerable Hao looked at Shu Old Ancestor with a smile and said, let you answer this question. Old Ancestor Shu did not refuse. Before understanding the rules, you must first understand what are laws and spells. Spells follow the laws. Spells have strengths and weaknesses, and have different functions, but they cannot transcend the upper limit of the laws. However, rules transcend the upper limit of the laws. They are a higher level of existence. They can ignore the laws, change the laws, and even collapse the laws. From Old Ancestor Shu's words, Lin Mo Yu felt the horror of the rules. Ignoring the laws, changing the laws, and even collapsing the laws. What a terrible power this is. At the same time, he also thought that if this kind of power exists, what is the point of comprehending and cultivating the laws himself? At this time, Holy Venerable Hao said with a smile, don't think too much. Rules are certainly powerful, but they are not omnipotent. They require realm and their own power. To put it this way, rules are higher than laws, but are based on laws. If you don't comprehend your own laws to the limit, you can't evolve rules on this basis. Holy Venerable Hao and Old Ancestor Shu patiently explained to Lin Mo Yu what rules are. Simply put, rules are a power based on laws and higher than laws. It can be regarded as the sublimation of laws and spells. The power of rules is the level of power that can only be controlled by the other shore realm. They didn't say the specific process, because Lin Mo Yu was far from that level. Even if his soul has reached it, it's useless. Holy Venerable Hao pointed to a distant star system and said, that is an uninhabited star system. It follows a set of rules, and countless laws are intertwined in it, cooperating orderly to maintain the star system. So now, I will make some changes to it. Holy Venerable Hao raised his hand and grabbed towards the uninhabited star system seemingly casually. The uninhabited star system trembled suddenly, and then all the stars began to rotate in reverse. The operating trajectory of the entire star system has changed. Lin Mo Yu was shocked. It is not difficult to destroy a star system. Not to mention the other shore realm, even he can easily do it. But to reverse the operation of the entire star system without harming all the stars inside, it would be as difficult as climbing to the sky. This is no longer something that can be done with powerful power, it requires truly changing the internal laws. Lin Moyu felt the changes in the star system and murmured, using the power of rules to forcibly change the established laws of the great world and change some of the laws. Holy Venerable Hao smiled slightly and withdrew his power. The star system shook again, and the stars that were running in reverse slowly stopped, and then began to resume their original operation. Holy Venerable Hao said, "There are already established rules in the great world. On too large a scale, I can only change a part of it, and it cannot last. This is just the simplest application of rules. Using the power of rules, you can accomplish some incredible things." Lin Old said, "It is said that those strong people in ancient times could combine hundreds of star systems together and use them as weapons. You can also reverse the laws and instantly condense thousands of stars into magic weapons. Rules, what a great thing, but it's a pity that it's too difficult." Chapter 1563, The First Stop of the Godly City, Port Star. Lin Moyu truly witnessed the power of the other shore for the first time. His worldview was completely refreshed. His past complacency was nothing in the face of the power of the other shore realm. The power of the other shore is also known as the power of rules, which can redefine rules. Of course, it is not to define rules arbitrarily, but only to define rules within one's own ability. If the power of rules collides, it depends on whose rules are stronger. However, the power of rules is based on the power of laws. In the end, laws are still very important. Lin Moyu clearly realized the rigor of the cultivation system. One wrong step leads to many wrong steps. If you want to go far, you need to take every step solidly and steadily. As long as one of them is wrong, you may never reach the peak. This is a rigorous world, and it is also a cruel world, which does not allow for any mistakes. The palace finally stopped, time and space completely returned to normal, and even the slightest distortion disappeared. About 1,000,000 kilometers away from the palace, there is a huge star. All those who want to enter Divine City must first arrive here, complete the procedures, and then be transmitted to the interior from here. This is the only reception point connecting Divine City Starfield with the outside world, known as Port Star. Divine City's first stop is this Port Star. Apart from this place, entering Divine City from any other location will be met with relentless attacks. Lin Moyu left the palace and headed to Port Star alone. On the way, Lin Moyu saw warships coming and going, and Port Star had become very lively. It seemed to be the monthly opening time of Divine City, with warships constantly sending human cultivators over. In fact, Divine City has a very large population, more than any of the 4 major starfields. Over tens of thousands of years, many of those who qualified to enter Divine City have settled down and established their own families and sects in Divine City. This has led to an increasing number of people in Divine City. In Lin Moyu's view, the 4 major starfields are like Divine City's breeding bases. The 4 major starfields continuously nurture geniuses and send them to Divine City. After all, Divine City is where the most powerful force of the human race lies, and it is the foundation of the human race. As long as Divine City is safe, the human race will not perish. The great disaster of that year was also because the allied forces of hundreds of races had entered Divine City, which almost led to the demise of the human race. Lin Moyu transformed into a stream of light, approaching Port Star in the blink of an eye at a speed of 150,000 kilometers per second. When he was still 100,000 kilometers away from Port Star, his speed rapidly decreased. From 150,000 kilometers per second, it became less than 1,000 kilometers per second. It wasn't that he wanted to slow down, but he had no choice. Port Star was enveloped by a special force, and as long as one approached, whether it was a person or a warship, it would uniformly slow down. In the past, Lin Moyu would only have found it magical. But now, he already understood that this force belonged to the other shore realm, it was the power of rules. Using the power of rules to forcibly change the space near Port Star. No matter who it was, as long as they entered the area covered by the rules, they had to abide by the corresponding rules. Flight speed was one of them, and there might be other rules as well. Lin Moyu continued to fly towards Port Star at a speed of 1,000 kilometers per second. When there were still 10,000 kilometers left, a golden avenue shot out from Port Star and landed at his feet. At the same time, he discovered that he could only advance along the golden avenue. Under the golden avenue's envelopment, he couldn't move forward in any other direction, couldn't retreat, couldn't go left or right, and couldn't stop. It was also the power of rules, invisible and intangible, yet truly existing. This reminded Lin Mo Yu of the Golden Avenue in Mount Huan continent, which also seemed to contain the power of rules. Both were equally strong and overbearing. Since he couldn't resist, he might as well advance along the Golden Avenue. Gradually approaching Port Star, countless runes appeared before his eyes when there were still 5,000 kilometers left. These runes were radiant and beautiful. Countless runes formed a huge formation, enveloping Port Star. Lin Mo Yu admired these runes as if they were works of art. This was a combined type of rune, composed of countless exquisite runes. A single rune taken out of it might not have any meaning, or it might be an independent spell with an independent function. But when they were combined together, a completely new function appeared. The formation before his eyes made Lin Mo Yu feel its power. Then he passed through the rune formation, as if he had passed through an invisible film. He knew that in that instant, he had undergone a verification. Verifying whether he had the qualifications to enter Divine City. If he did, he would be allowed in; if not, he would be driven out. If someone wanted to force their way in, the formation would teach them a lesson. After passing through the formation, Lin Mo Yu continued to be led forward by the Golden Avenue. A large number of golden avenues appeared above, below, left, and right, and each golden avenue contained a cultivator. Finally, he truly entered Port Star, and a huge square appeared in his eyes. The square was circular, with a diameter of over 10,000 meters, surrounded by exquisite huts, totaling 1,000. People were constantly entering and exiting the huts. The ground of the square was paved with white jade, exuding a magnificent aura. Lin Mo Yu could feel that this white jade was extraordinary. It wasn't ordinary white jade, it was itself a material of the Divine King realm. Using materials of the Divine King realm to pave the ground, only Divine City could come up with such a grand gesture. Lin Mo Yu saw no less than 100 such squares. Many people were standing on the square, and these people, like him, had just arrived at Port Star. The difference was that he was visiting Divine City for the first time. And many of the people here were originally from Divine City, they had simply returned after being away. 10 seconds after stepping onto the square, no more, no less, the voice of the Human Emperor Network sounded in his ears. Please go to a hut to register. The huts around the square were used for registration. Whether it was their first time in Divine City or they were originally from Divine City, as long as they returned to Divine City, they had to first go to Port Star and then come to a hut to register. Lin Mo Yu chose an empty hut, number 513, and strode inside. There was no one inside the room, only a formation. After he entered the hut, the formation had already been activated. Before he left, outsiders could not enter. He followed the prompts from the Human Emperor Network and stood in the center of the formation, and the Human Emperor Network registered him based on his information. It was said that before the Human Emperor Network appeared, enemies had sneaked in, passed through undetected, and eventually entered Divine City. However, after the Human Emperor Network, no one could successfully sneak in again. The aura of the Human Emperor Network was very strong here, far exceeding the 4 major starfields outside. It could be said that the entire Divine City starfield was under the firm control of the Human Emperor Network. Lin Mo Yu's information was quickly verified and registered, and the voice of the Human Emperor Network sounded again in the room. Your information has been registered, and you have obtained the corresponding permissions. Since this is your first time entering Divine City, it is recommended that you first view the relevant information about Divine City. Please abide by the rules in Divine City, and if there are any violations, you will be subject to corresponding penalties. The voice of the Human Emperor Network was somewhat cold, and Lin Mo Yu knew that everyone who came to Divine City for the first time would hear the same words. After leaving the hut, Lin Mo Yu immediately took the initiative to view the relevant information about Divine City. He could not see this information before, and he could only see it after completing the registration. The rigor of the Human Emperor Network was evident from this. Looking at the information related to Divine City, he finally had a deeper understanding of Divine City. Chapter 1564. First Base, Star 12998. The relevant information about Divine City described many things that must be paid attention to in Divine City. For example, no force may be used in Divine City. If there are any grievances that need to be resolved, you can go to the arena to resolve them. Whether it is a real arena or a virtual arena in the Human Emperor Network, it is possible. If you fight in Divine City, then I'm sorry, the Human Emperor Network will teach you how to behave. Secondly, in Divine City merits are very useful, and many places require Divine City merits. Leaving Divine City requires Divine City merits, but returning does not. Each time you leave Divine City, it is equivalent to buying a round-trip ticket. Round-trip tickets are not cheap, 10 Divine City merits each time. If you don't have Divine City merits, you can't leave even if you want to. Whether leaving or returning, it's not possible to just go at any time, you need to wait. The opening period is once a month, lasting for 5 days each time. Only during these 5 days can you enter or leave God City. At other times, God City is closed. Of course, within God City, you're not limited to using God City merits. The points you earn from doing tasks outside can also be used. Points are sufficient for daily needs, God City merits are only needed in certain special places. Moreover, for most people, God City merits are saved whenever possible, as they are extremely difficult to earn. Lin Mo Yu currently possesses 300 God City merits, which is already a considerable fortune for most people. Besides upgrading, God City merits can also be used to purchase many necessities. Whether for survival or cultivation, they are very useful. It's different from military merits, losing God City merits doesn't affect your level. In God City, level is very important, your level basically determines where you can go and what you can do. The entire God City Star region is divided into 5 layers from the outside in. Outer Ring, Beginner, Intermediate, Advanced, and the Core Area. Outer Ring personnel can only operate in the outermost area, and each area corresponds to a level. As for the Core Area, that's a place you can only enter after surpassing the Advanced level. It's said that besides level, there are other requirements for entering the Core Area, most people don't even know about them. Upgrading from Outer Ring personnel to Beginner personnel requires 100 God City merits and the completion of an advancement mission. Advancing from Beginner personnel to Intermediate personnel requires 10,000 God City merits. Given the difficulty of obtaining God City merits, 10,000 points isn't easy. Lin Mo Yu is already a Beginner personnel and possesses 300 God City merits, giving him a higher starting point than many. He can operate in the Outer Ring and Beginner areas. According to the information, these 2 areas combined only account for about 1/5 of the God City Star region. In the God City Star region, the higher the level of the area, the more vast the space. Lin Mo Yu inexplicably felt a strange sensation. This structure is extremely similar to the primordial battlefield in the small world. It's also somewhat similar to the Vermilion Bird battlefield. It's as if the world is a ring, with one ring nested inside another. This strange sensation is very peculiar. I wonder if there are similar places in other small worlds. How strange. Lin Mo Yu couldn't figure it out for a while and could only consider them coincidences for now. Lin Mo Yu wasn't in a hurry to go to God City, he temporarily stayed on Port Star and began to check more information related to God City. Being new, he naturally needed to understand the situation before acting. Port Star was bustling with people coming and going, very lively. Until 4 days later, everyone on Port Star received a message from the Human Emperor Network. Port Star will be closed in 1 day. All personnel must leave Port Star within 1 day. Port Star will be closed in 1 day. All personnel must leave Port Star within 1 day. Port Star will be closed in 1 day. All personnel must leave Port Star within 1 day. This message was directly sent to everyone's soul world, even if you were asleep, you could hear it. Lin Mo Yu was checking the information and was also awakened. In these few days, he had checked a large amount of information about God City qualifications, having read almost all the free information available to his level. Then I'll go here. Having made up his mind, Lin Mo Yu came to a corner of the plaza, where there were many teleportation arrays that could go to various areas of God City. The teleportation arrays were free, and anyone who met the level requirements could use them. Only through the teleportation arrays of Port Star could one truly enter God City. According to the information he had seen these days, Lin Mo Yu chose a life star in the beginner area. This life star's number within God City was Beginner 129981. This life star was located in the beginner area, the 12,998th life star system. In the entire beginner area, there were over 10,000 life star systems. The numbering in God City had its own rules. In the same area, the lower the star system number, the lower the danger level. This danger level was determined by the tasks within the star system. Here, the tasks in each star system were different, only by arriving in that star system could you know what tasks you could accept. And teleporting between star systems within God City required consuming God City merits, costing 1 merit each time. So, for everyone who had just entered God City, the first choice was especially important. Xu Jiangxing had once mentioned this matter to Lin Mo Yu, that you couldn't just choose randomly. Most people would choose a low-numbered star system within their level as their first foothold. Lin Mo Yu, based on his own strength, comprehensively considered his strength and chose the beginner 12,998 feet star system, directly entering its star 1. God City was too large. This teleportation lasted for a full half-day before it ended. The entire teleportation process wasn't fast, seemingly because of some special reasons. The teleportation speed in the God City star region couldn't be too fast. Lin Mo Yu guessed that it was related to the large number of secret realms scattered throughout the star region. What was most noteworthy was that this teleportation didn't go through any intermediate points. Throughout the entire teleportation process, Lin Mo Yu felt as if he was wrapped in the power of the Human Emperor Network. The Human Emperor Network was extremely powerful here and could easily interfere with reality. The overall structure of the beginner 12,998 star system was similar to the life star systems in the 4 great star regions. It was composed of 3 life stars and 9 resource stars, accompanied by 2 suns. The 2 suns operated very stably, bringing the light and heat needed by the human race to the entire star system. The life star systems of the entire Great World were basically of this structure, being largely the same. Lin Mo Yu walked out of the teleportation array, and several other people finished teleporting with him. They had all teleported from Port Star. How obvious the laws are. After leaving the teleportation array, Lin Mo Yu's first feeling was that the laws were too obvious. Here, comprehending laws was much easier than in the 4 great star regions or the battlefields. One could imagine that the speed of cultivation here would be very fast. However, similarly, 2 obvious laws also had drawbacks. Because it wasn't just one type of law that was obvious, all the laws were very obvious. However, when a person first started cultivating, they generally only comprehended 1 or 2 laws. In this way, too many laws would create interference. The cultivation speed would be somewhat discounted, but overall, it was still better than the 4 great star regions. Lin Mo Yu was about to observe this star when a cry of surprise suddenly came from not far away. Lin Mo Yu. The voice carried surprise and shock. Lin Mo Yu turned his head and saw a woman with a beautiful appearance, a tall figure, and straight legs. She came to Lin Mo Yu in front of him with surprise in 2 or 3 steps, bright eyes with starlight. "It's really you came to God City." Lin Mo Yu was a little dazed, he didn't seem to know this girl. Chapter 1565, Being sworn as brothers with Chu Shang. Lin Mo Yu felt that calling her a girl seemed a little inappropriate. Her realm was higher than his, and she was taller than him. Among female cultivators, it was rare to see someone so tall. Lin Mo estimated that his opponent was likely over 2 meters tall. She had a well-proportioned figure, and although she was tall, she didn't give off a bulky impression. Instead, she was somewhat stunning. Her name was Mu Xiaogu, and she was an 8th Order God King. This was the information provided by the Human Emperor Network. Mu Xiaogu hadn't hidden her information. Her name doesn't quite match her personality. Lin Mo muttered to himself before speaking, "Senior Sister Mu, is there something you need?" Mu Xiaogu was very forthright. "No big deal, I saw your match during the 4-star region competition. Your performance was amazing. At the time, I thought you would take first place, and sure enough, this young lady guessed right. By the way, can I get your autograph? This young lady can show off to my sisters when I get back." This senior sister Mu Xiaogu seemed a bit too hearty, almost as much as Chu Shang. Lin Mo smiled, "I just got lucky. Let's forget about the autograph." Mu Xiaogu suddenly exclaimed, "How can you be so humble? You're the first place winner, how could it just be luck?" The first place winner of the 4-star region competition, aren't they all geniuses? After they enter God City 943, as long as they don't die, they can all become big shots, at least high-level God Sovereigns. Once you become a high-level God Sovereign, your autograph will be a hot commodity. No, you must give me an autograph. Take advantage of the fact that you're not that powerful yet. I must get one, or I won't be able to find you in the future. Lin Mo really couldn't handle it, and finally had to agree. The autograph that Mu Xiaogu mentioned wasn't just signing one's name with a pen. Instead, it involved a special jade tablet where one left an imprint with their soul power. This imprint would form the corresponding name on the jade tablet, and it would be formed once and forever unchangeable. Moreover, because the signature was done with soul power, it couldn't be faked. Its authenticity could be verified by asking the Human Emperor Network. Because the jade tablet was produced by the Human Emperor Network, it was worth 1 God City merit point. After Lin Mo left his autograph, Mu Xiaogu screamed excitedly, "Great, I'll make those guys envious when I get back. Junior brother Lin, thank you this time. This senior sister is from the Mu family of this star system, feel free to come find me if you need anything." God City was a bit different from the 4-star regions. In many star systems, there were families and sects. They often controlled most of the resources in their star system while also managing the entire star system. Of course, they wouldn't act recklessly. After all, the Human Emperor Network was watching them, and they couldn't make any small moves. It should be said that the City Lord of God City was like the Emperor, and the Human Emperor Network was like the ministers, helping the City Lord manage the entire God City. And the families and sects of each star system were like the local officials. The Mu family was the local official of the Chu 12,998 feet star system, which was basically under their management. Since Mu Xiaogu had said so, Lin Mo didn't stand on ceremony. Being new to the place, having a local guide was naturally better than exploring on his own. Given Mu Xiaogu's forthright personality, Lin Mo said directly, "Senior Sister Mu, please introduce me to the situation in the star system." Sure enough, Mu Xiaogu patted her ample chest, "No problem, leave it to me." Then she began to introduce Lin Mo to the situation in the star system. Mu Xiaogu said excitedly, "Our star system's number is 12,998, which is a low-numbered star system. Correspondingly, the mission difficulty is low, the danger level is low, but the mission rewards are also poor. Actually, with your strength, you could have chosen a higher-numbered star system. In the past, the first-place winners of the 4-star region competition basically chose star systems numbered 50,000 or higher. But there's nothing wrong with your choice, safety first." As she spoke, she patted Lin Mo's shoulder. Her demeanor didn't resemble a girl at all, even more boisterous than that of Chu Shang. Lin Mo felt that if she and Chu Shang met, they would definitely become good brothers. Opposite-sex brothers. Suddenly, Mu Xiaogu stopped, muttering to herself, "No, no, no." Lin Mo found it strange. "What's wrong?" Mu Xiaogu exclaimed, her eyes widening, "You're wrong, why did you come to the beginner area? Shouldn't you be in the outer area?" So the star systems numbered 50,000 or higher that she mentioned were all in the outer area. Lin Mo asked strangely, "Weren't those people from the 4-star region competition in previous years beginners?" Mu Xiaogu shook her head, "Of course not, how could beginners get here so easily? Even if they have enough merit points, they still have to do advancement missions. How could they advance to the beginner level without doing advancement missions?" Lin Mo knew where he had gone wrong. He had not done any beginner missions and had directly reached the beginner level. Mu Xiaogu stared at Lin Mo, "Have you done any advancement missions?" Lin Mo shook his head decisively, when would he have done them? His beginner level was determined by the Human Emperor Network. At the time, he didn't know what the beginner level represented. He didn't even know that leveling up in God City was so difficult. Mu Xiaogu thought for a long time but couldn't figure out why. Her carefree personality took over, and she simply stopped thinking about it. She put her doubts behind her and continued to introduce Lin Mo to the situation here. The missions in a star system were basically around the star system. Around the star system, there were many secret realms. It was said that these secret realms were left over from ancient times. Some secret realms were dangerous, some were safe, corresponding to various missions. However, the secret realms around low-numbered star systems were basically very safe. If any overly dangerous secret realms were discovered, the Human Emperor Network would actively intervene. This was just like what Lin Mo had initially thought. Many of the guys in God City were flowers grown in a greenhouse. They were too well protected by the Human Emperor Network. There was another difference between God City and the 4-star regions. There was no mission center or transaction center here. To accept a mission, one only needed to communicate with the Human Emperor Network. Because the power of the Human Emperor Network was too strong here, interfering with reality was not difficult at all, so there was no need for a mission center. As for the transaction center, if one had any gains in the secret realm, they could directly trade with the Human Emperor Network to obtain God City merit points. Of course, one could also sell to other cultivators, and they could also trade with God City merit points. As for selling to the transaction center, that was also possible. The Human Emperor Network could relay the message on your behalf. However, what you would get would be points, not God City merit points. In God City, no one would be foolish enough to do such a thing. Doing missions in God City was originally to obtain God City merit points. If one needed points, they could earn them outside God City. There were a large number of living facilities in the Life Star. Restaurants and the like were needless to say, and there were also many places for leisure and relaxation. Compared to the 4-star regions, life here was more comfortable. However, according to Mu Xiaogu, those places for leisure and relaxation were originally set up for cultivators returning from the secret realms. There seemed to be a peculiar power in the secret realms that affected people's spirits. After returning, everyone would become very nervous and need to relax. These things would have to wait until Lin Mo accepted a mission and entered a secret realm himself to know. Chapter 1566. Does the other shore realm also need the power of belief? As the manager of the star system, the Mu family was usually not high profile. With the Human Emperor Network watching, they couldn't do anything that violated the rules. Even if they controlled a large amount of resources, they had to try to be fair and just in resource allocation. It was okay to take a slight advantage, but if it went too far, the Human Emperor Network couldn't be fooled. Mu Xiaogu returned to the Mu family without restraint. As the Mu family's eldest daughter, she was the Mu family's princess, and no one dared to stop her. The Mu family's patriarch, Mu Shuyuan, had a daughter late in life and had already spoiled Mu Xiaogu to the heavens. In the entire family, Mu Xiaogu's words were more effective than his, the patriarch. When Mu Shuyuan saw Mu Xiaogu, his face smiled more brightly than a chrysanthemum. "Xiaogu is back, let daddy give you a hug." Mu Shuyuan was a head taller than Mu Xiaogu, with an incredibly sturdy build, a true strongman. Seeing him, one would understand why Mu Xiaogu grew so tall. Mu Xiaogu nimbly dodged Mu Shuyuan's embrace, then said with a grin, "Dad, guess who I saw?" Mu Shuyuan said with a smile, "How could I possibly guess that?" Mu Xiaogu didn't play coy, "I saw Lin Moyu." Mu Shuyuan pondered for a long time, not recalling who Lin Moyu was. But the name sounded somewhat familiar, as if he'd heard it somewhere recently. Lin Moyu is the champion of this year's 4-star region competition. Mu Xiaogu said loudly. Mu Shuyuan finally remembered, "Oh, it's him. He came to our star system." Mu Xiaogu nodded vigorously, "Yeah, I ran into him right here at the teleportation array, and even asked him for an autograph." Mu Shuyuan frowned, "That's not right, how could he come here? Did he reach the primary level so quickly?" Mu Xiaogu also chimed in, "I thought it was strange too." He said that before the 4-star region competition, he had already obtained the qualification to enter God City, and directly obtained the primary level. At that time, he didn't even have God City merits. It seems he directly obtained the primary identity after completing the second chain quest. Upon hearing this, Mu Shuyuan's expression changed drastically. Mu Xiaogu didn't understand, but how could he not? He was all too aware of what it implied. Over the years, there have been some people who could enter God City by completing the second chain quest, though not many. But those who could directly obtain the primary identity were extremely rare. Even if there were, they would still need to complete a promotion mission. Being able to directly grant someone the primary identity and skip the promotion mission, there was only one possibility, that a Beyond Realm expert had intervened. This meant that behind Lin Moyu stood a Beyond Realm expert. What was the relationship between this Beyond Realm expert and Lin Moyu? Was it an elder in the family, or did they simply favor Lin Moyu? Mu Shuyuan frowned, racking his brains, but couldn't think of any Beyond Realm expert with the surname Lin. "Dad, what are you thinking about?" Mu Xiaogu looked at her father, somewhat curious. Mu Shuyuan, like Mu Xiaogu, chose not to think about it if he couldn't figure it out. He looked at his daughter, "Xiaogu, what do you think of Lin Moyu as a person?" Mu Xiaogu didn't understand her father's intention, and instinctively replied, "He's pretty good, very kind and easy to talk to." Mu Shuyuan once again revealed a chrysanthemum-like smile, "Xiaogu, you're not young anymore, how about?" "Stop, this is my own business, don't interfere." Mu Xiaogu didn't give him a chance to continue, and directly interrupted. Mu Shuyuan looked helpless. He knew his own daughter, he couldn't force her in this kind of matter. Mu Shuyuan's eyes darted around, and he came up with another idea. Xiaogu, then you should build a good relationship with Lin Moyu, see if he needs anything, and our Mu family will help as much as we can. Mu Xiaogu glared at Mu Shuyuan. She wasn't stupid, how could she not know what her father was planning? Lin Moyu walked down the street. It was a human star region, and on the surface, there was no difference from the life star systems of the 4-star regions. The people coming and going were also humans. But the people here were generally stronger. Although it wasn't to the point where god kings were everywhere, god kings were really not rare. And this was just a low-numbered star system in the primary area. If he went to the intermediate area, the advanced area, there would only be more experts. Moreover, Lin Moyu also knew that each area had a main star system. If you wanted to do promotion missions, you had to go to the main star system. It was said that the main star system was the most prosperous place. Walking down the street, the buildings on both sides slowly receded into the distance. Lin Moyu walked very slowly. He didn't accept a mission right away, he was still feeling the difference between God City and the outside star regions. The soul opened its eyes, and once again saw the law lines. The law lines here were thick, very clear, far exceeding the outside world. But unfortunately, there were still no first-tier law lines. The second-tier law lines were also incomplete, not much different from the outside world. They just became thicker and more obvious, speeding up the cultivation speed, but also interfering with the cultivation speed, with both gains and losses. Singing came from his ear, unison, unified and grand. Lin Moyu stopped to look, and saw a special building. This building was in the shape of a pagoda, divided into 6 floors, about 100 meters high. The singing came from inside. The entire pagoda was wrapped in a strong force of faith, and at the same time, a clear and strong force of faith shot out from the top of the pagoda, heading towards a distant place. Faith Tower. Mu Xiaogu had introduced to Lin Moyu that in the God City Star region, on star of all sizes, there would be buildings called Faith Towers. And there were many of them, like the star he was on, with hundreds of millions of people living on it, there were thousands of Faith Towers. The role of the Faith Tower was self-explanatory, to provide the power of faith. He strode in, without being stopped. The Faith Tower belonged to an open area, anyone could enter. The singing became more and more obvious, but it was impossible to hear what was being sung. Listening more carefully, it felt like it wasn't singing, but chanting, but it was still impossible to hear what was being chanted. Even more bizarre was that after entering the Faith Tower, Lin Moyu saw the people sitting inside. They were all sitting with orchid fingers, eyes closed. Their expressions were very pious, but they were all silent, not making any sound at all. But the song-like chanting sound really existed. Lin Moyu looked up and saw the top of the tower. An array was running on the top of the tower. After watching for a while, Lin Moyu already knew the source of the singing. The array absorbed a large amount of faith power, and then the array transformed it into a peculiar song. The song brought people peace, made people guard their minds, erased distractions, and became more pious. The faith power transformed in this way became purer. Lin Moyu originally possessed a strong power of faith, so he was very sensitive to it. Opposite the people, a statue about 50 meters high stood. This was the receiver of the power of faith. The statue was lifelike. Lin Moyu took a look and couldn't help but smile wryly. This statue was none other than the Shu family's ancestor. It turned out that the power of faith here was all supplied to the Shu family's ancestor. Even from this, it could be inferred that the countless faith towers on various stars were all gathering the power of faith for beyond realm existences. Beyond realm also needs the power of faith. It seems that the role of the power of faith is far beyond my imagination. Being able to become one of the fundamental forces of the human race, the power of faith must have something extraordinary. It seems I need to find time to study the power of faith. He had several pieces of information about the power of faith, he needed to find some time to study them. In addition to the power of faith, runes also needed to be studied. Time was not enough. At this time, he received a reminder from the Human Emperor Network that someone was trying to contact him. Chapter 1567, Information in the Guanxi Hall. Mu Xiaogu has requested to share her location with you. Do you agree? A notification from the Human Emperor Network popped up. Lin Moyu hadn't expected the Human Emperor Network to have such a function. It seems he still knew too little about the Human Emperor Network. He hadn't even figured out many of the Human Emperor Network's functions. He had added Mu Xiaogu as a friend before, but he didn't expect her to come looking for him so quickly. She probably needs something. Lin Moyu thought to himself and chose to agree. The next second, a virtual map that only he could see appeared before his eyes. The map marked his and Mu Xiaogu's locations, and the two were not far apart. Mu Xiaogu was rushing over, and the distance between them was rapidly shrinking. By the time he walked out of the Tower of Faith, Mu Xiaogu had already arrived at the entrance. Mu Xiaogu had changed her clothes, and she looked less capable and more feminine. However, combined with her height, that bit of femininity was somewhat diminished. Mu Xiaogu waved at Lin Moyu, looking very happy. Lin Moyu asked, "Senior Sister Mu, is there something you need?" Mu Xiaogu smiled brightly, "I don't think my introduction was detailed enough earlier. There are still a few places I want to take you to see. Those are unique places in God City. They aren't completely non-existent outside, but they are rare. Rare outside, unique to God City. Lin Moyu didn't stand on ceremony, then I'll have to trouble Senior Sister Mu." Mu Xiaogu waved her hand, "You're welcome. This is what I should do. After all, this is my territory." Saying that, she pointed to the Tower of Faith behind Lin Moyu. "First of all, this Tower of Faith doesn't exist outside, but it can be seen everywhere in God City." Lin Moyu nodded slightly. That was indeed the case. Mu Xiaogu continued, "The Tower of Faith is for collecting the power of faith. Dad said that the power of faith is for a few big shots, but he wouldn't say who exactly. He said I'm not high enough level to know. Mu Xiaogu spread her hands, looking helpless. Lin Moyu realized that information asymmetry existed everywhere. Not everyone was clear about the existence of the other shore realm. Holy Paragon Hao had said that the reason for this was to maintain a sense of mystery. When one's realm reached a certain point, they would naturally know. At this time, Mu Xiaogu had already walked forward, saying as she walked, "There's nothing to see at the Tower of Faith. I'll take you to see something else. Have you been to the exchange center outside? She suddenly lowered her voice a little, "Then do you know who controls the exchange center?" Lin Moyu imitated her and whispered, "The Yu family." Mu Xiaogu clapped her hands, "That's right, it's the Yu family. In God City, the Yu family in the core area is a very remarkable family. They control the exchange centers of the 4 great starfields, and even some resources in our God City are controlled by them. In Mu Xiaogu's words, the Yu family was a very remarkable family. The family had a large number of God sovereigns, and even existences beyond God sovereigns. Moreover, the Yu family lived in the core area, which was the core of God City, a true holy land. Compared to the Yu family, her Mu family was like the difference between heaven and earth. In the Mu family, there were only 2 God sovereigns. Among them, Mu Xiaogu's father was a 7th-order God sovereign, and there was also an uncle who was only a 3rd-order God sovereign. Although it sounded like the Mu family's strength wasn't that great, it was actually not weak. In this era, God sovereigns were considered strong. A family that could have 2 God sovereigns, and one of them was a high-level God sovereign, naturally wouldn't be considered weak. If extended, in the low-level star regions of God City, with 100,000 life star systems, each life star system had a family similar to the Mu family, or even more powerful than the Mu family. That would be hundreds of thousands of God sovereigns. Adding the outer areas, as well as the larger middle, high, and even core areas. The number of God sovereigns would be in the millions. This was the true strength of the human race. If a real war broke out, with millions of God sovereigns on the battlefield, even those in the other shore realm would have to retreat. However, even so, the human race was still constantly strengthening its own strength, indicating that the other strong races also had unimaginable foundations. Each race had its own trump cards, and none were easy to provoke. The two arrived in front of a triangular building. There were 2 large red pillars in front of the building, each with 2 huge runes carved on them. One rune looked like an eye, and the other rune looked like an ear. Mu Xiaogu introduced, "This place is called the Hall of Observation, and it is managed by the Shu family in the core area." Alike the Yu family, the Shu family is also a remarkable family, but they mainly engage in information trading. I heard that the Shu family and the Yu family have long-term cooperation. Information trading was actually intelligence trading. The Yu family itself had intelligence channels, but obviously the Shu families were more professional. Even the Yu family had to cooperate with the Shu family. Hall of Observation, which meant observing the great world, the Shu family's ambition was indeed not small. Mu Xiaogu took Lin Mo Yu into the Hall of Observation, explaining at the same time, the Hall of Observation is actually set up in the main star systems of the 4 great star fields. I don't know if you've been there before. Lin Mo Yu shook his head. He hadn't even been to the main star system, so how could he have been to the Hall of Observation? Mu Xiaogu introduced the specific functions of the Hall of Observation. In the Hall of Observation, you could check all kinds of information. Not only was there information internal to the human race, but also a large amount of information about other races. Lin Mo Yu didn't know where the Shu family got this information, but being able to get this information meant that the Shu family was remarkable. There was a wide variety of information here, from large to small. Large things like which 2 races were at war and how the battle was going. Small things like an internal strife in a certain race, and even some trivial matters, could be found here. Some unimportant information was free, while some important information was charged. They also had their own way of charging. They would first show you some descriptions of the information. If you wanted to see the specific content, you would have to pay. For example, a piece of information said that the Golden Eagle race had discovered a secret realm and had a conflict with the demon race. That was just a title. If you wanted to see the internal information, please pay. In the Hall of Observation, you could use points or God City merits. The ratio between the two was basically 1 to 10,000. 1 point of God City merit was worth 10,000 points. Mu Xiaogu introduced, there is a lot of information here. You can take a look, but a lot of it is irrelevant to us, so don't pay too much attention to it. Lin Mo Yu looked around with the idea of just taking a look. Suddenly, he saw a piece of information, and his eyes revealed some intention. A plant-based starry sky behemoth is approaching the human race's star region. Just seeing the title, Lin Mo Yu thought of the starry sky giant tree that he had clashed with before. The other party had once threatened to kill him, but later he entered the great world and forgot about it. Seeing the news, the memory was evoked again. Could it be it? Lin Mo Yu wanted to check the complete information. The information was not cheap, requiring 10,000 points or 1 point of God City merit. Lin Mo Yu was rich and generous, and directly spent 10,000 points to purchase the information. The complete information was presented in front of him, not only with text, but also with pictures. A huge starry sky giant tree was flying in the vast starry sky, and its direction was the human race's space. Its shape was too large, comparable to a galaxy. Lin Mo Yu trembled, his eyes showing shock. It really is him. Chapter 1568. Hurry up, don't force this mist to take action. Comparable to the size of a galaxy, with lush roots, each root being extremely thick. Light emanates from within the roots. It's a star, enveloped by the starry sky giant tree. The starry sky giant tree is devouring the star's energy, taking the star's power for its own. Below the image, there's a large section of text description. The information is from 5 days ago. 5 days ago, a starry sky giant tree was discovered, heading towards the human race star territory. It's currently about 100,000 light-years away from the human race star territory. At its speed, it will arrive in the human race star territory in about 10 years. The information didn't mention its realm or strength, but Lin Mo knew that its strength wouldn't be lower than the other shore realm. Antares had said that he was similar to the starry sky giant tree. The starry sky giant tree dared to snatch Antares' dragon pearl, so it naturally had some confidence. The human race's power in the 4 great star territories naturally couldn't stop it. Only a powerhouse at the other shore realm could take action and possibly stop it. However, the starry sky giant tree at the other shore realm belongs to the plant type. As everyone knows, plant-type starry sky giant beasts have extremely strong vitality and are extremely difficult to deal with. If the human race only sends one other shore realm expert, it might not be enough. Moreover, Lin Mo knew that the starry sky giant tree possessed the law of space, making it difficult to kill. Even if it couldn't win, it could use the law of space to retreat calmly. But why doesn't it use the law of space to teleport directly here now? Lin Mo couldn't understand this. Lin Mo suddenly smiled self-deprecatingly. Why think so much? Anyway, if the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it up. If there's really a problem with the human race, naturally the other shore realm experts will take action. What does it have to do with me? Lin Mo put away the information bar, and the beautiful face of Mu Xiaogu appeared in his sight. Mu Xiaogu was stretching out her hand and waving it in front of his eyes. What did you see? Lin Mo smiled. There were a few interesting pieces of information, so I took a closer look. Mu Xiaogu looked as if it was a matter of course. I was right, wasn't I? There are many fun things in the information in the Guanxi Hall. We also come here often to take a look. If we don't come for a while, we even feel out of touch with the world. Lin Mo already understood how the people in the Divine City learned about the outside world. Besides leaving the Divine City to undergo trials, it was through the Guanxi Hall. Mu Xiaogu said, "Let's go, I'll take you to another place." Saying that, she took Lin Mo to a tea house opposite the Guanxi Hall. The tea house was built in an open style, so you could see the inside even when standing outside. A plaque hung on the tea house, with the 3 large characters, "Tea Friend's Residence," engraved on it. Just looking at the architecture of the entire tea house, it was quaint and full of charm. There were already many people sitting inside, seemingly discussing something. The fragrance of tea wafted through the air, obviously good tea was being brewed. Mu Xiaogu was obviously a regular here, quickly found a seat and sat down, and shouted loudly, the usual. As the Mu family's eldest daughter, her status and position were not low. When she entered the tea house, many people's eyes immediately focused on her. At the same time, some gazes also focused on Lin Mo. Mu Xiaogu said, "Guess what this place is for?" Lin Mo didn't think much. It should be a place for discussion, right? Mu Xiaogu slapped the table. "So smart, you guessed it right away. Actually, besides discussing information here, we also exchange some cultivation insights, as well as some mission information. Sometimes, we can even conduct private transactions. In short, we exchange what we have for what we need. In the Guanxi Hall, you can see what's been happening in the human race recently. Then go to the tea house to discuss, exchange opinions, and exchange what you have for what you need. This is a good method. The human race needs powerful cultivators, but also smart cultivators. This kind of mutual discussion can broaden horizons, open up ideas, and is very beneficial to cultivation." How keen was Lin Mo's soul? If he wanted to listen, even if those people used soul transmission, he could hear it. Before entering, Lin Mo had already heard their discussions, which were basically about recent events in the human race. In the tea house, Mu Xiaogu continued to talk to Lin Mo about some things in the Divine City. Lin Mo also listened to everyone's discussions. Among them, the most discussed was the human race's actions. The great world is not peaceful, and wars are constantly happening. Even if there are no major wars, there will be friction between races. It's just that for ordinary people, many small-scale wars are unknown. But in the Divine City, because of the existence of the Guanxi Hall, even small-scale wars will be known. The people in the Divine City seem to have developed a habit of using these changes to discuss the changes in the human race. Of course, many discussions are meaningless. The people in the tea house are basically divine kings, and their horizons are not wide enough to make truly accurate judgments. Lin Mo listened for a while and lost interest. He drank his tea. "Senior Sister Mu, I also have a certain understanding of the Divine City. I want to try doing a mission." Mu Xiaogu said, "Then you have to be careful. Many secret realms are very dangerous. After you accept the mission, you have to prepare well." Lin Mo raised his teacup. "Thank you, Senior Sister Mu, for answering my questions. This cup of tea is to you." Mu Xiaogu also raised her teacup generously. "Then I wish Junior Brother Lin a smooth mission. When Junior Brother Lin's mission goes smoothly, we'll talk again. When Junior Brother Lin comes to my Mu family, we'll drink and eat meat." Mu Xiaogu smiled brightly, like a flower in full bloom, which made people's eyes light up. These words sounded a bit rough, but when they came out of Mu Xiaogu's mouth, they felt very natural. At this time, a whisper came from the side, a mere divine king 4th order, wanting to go to a secret realm to do a mission. "Are you courting death?" The voice was a bit deep, and its owner was a handsome man. Mu Xiaogu's eyes widened. "Chu Ji, it's been more than a year since I saw you, and your mouth is still so stinky." Chu Ji chuckled. "Senior Sister Mu, I'm just telling the truth. He's only Divine King 4th Order. What's the difference between going to the secret realm and courting death?" Mu Xiaogu snorted. "You know nothing. Junior Brother Lin's strength cannot be measured by his realm. Lin Mo could hear that although Chu Ji's words were not pleasant, they were not malicious. On the contrary, he was really reminding him that his realm was not high enough and that going to the secret realm was very dangerous. Chu Ji glanced at Lin Mo and said casually, "Your name is Lin Mo. It's the same name as the first place in the 4-star territory competition. For the sake of being senior sister Mu's friend, I still advise you not to go courting death." Mu Xiaogu's eyes rolled and she said suspiciously, "I remember you haven't been to the secret realm. How can you be so clear?" Chu Ji showed a wry smile. "I had a brain cramp some time ago and went there once. I almost didn't die inside." Chu Ji was Divine King 7th Order, and he almost died inside. If a Divine King 4th Order went in, he thought he would definitely die. Mu Xiaogu snorted, "You really went in? Hurry up and hand over the information. Don't say you don't have it. With your personality, you wouldn't leave any information behind. I wouldn't believe it even if you beat me to death. Hurry up, don't force this miss to take action." Mu Xiaogu was very casual and not polite at all. Chu Ji's face was even more bitter. "If I had known, I wouldn't have spoken." But he still took out a jade tablet and threw it to Mu Xiaogu. "This is some information I got in the secret realm. I don't care if it's right or not. It's just my experience." Mu Xiaogu took the jade tablet. "You're sensible." Saying that, she handed the jade tablet to Lin Mo. "Take a look before you go, just in case." Regardless of whether Chu Ji was willing or not, he handed over the information. On the surface, it seemed like Mu Xiaogu forced him to hand it over. But in reality, it wasn't like that. Lin Mo had already seen that Chu Ji gave it willingly. If he didn't want to give it, he wouldn't have said a word. It was because he heard that he was going to the secret realm, and that he was also Mu Xiaogu's friend, that he deliberately spoke up. Moreover, Lin Mo could sense that Chu Ji's gaze towards Mu Xiaogu was different. This guy clearly liked Mu Xiaogu. When he and Mu Xiaogu entered the tea room together, he felt something was off in Chu Ji's eyes, as if there was a kind of hostility. Later, perhaps after hearing his conversation with Mu Xiaogu, this hostility disappeared. It's just that Mu Xiaogu was very careless and didn't seem to sense Chu Ji's feelings. Lin Mo took the jade token and said to Chu Ji, "Thank you, senior brother Chu." Regardless of whether it was useful or not, it was something Chu Ji had risked his life for after all. Chu Ji waved his hand. "It's nothing, for the sake of senior sister Mu, just don't die in there. You have such a foul mouth." Mu Xiaogu glared at Chu Ji, looking displeased. Chu Ji smiled and didn't retort. He wasn't angry at all. Lin Mo naturally understood that Chu Ji said that on purpose. Since he couldn't leave a good impression, he would deepen the bad impression. Anyway, the principle was the same, constantly deepening the impression. This kind of roundabout tactic was sometimes quite useful. Mu Xiaogu said to Lin Mo, "Ignore this guy, junior brother Lin, take a look at the information before going to the secret realm, safety first." Lin Mo said with a smile, "Senior sister Mu, actually, senior brother Chu is a good person." Mu Xiaogu rolled her eyes at Chu Ji. "With that foul mouth of his, what's good about him?" Lin Mo said, "Senior sister Mu might as well think about it. No matter how you talk about senior brother Chu, has senior brother Chu ever been angry?" Mu Xiaogu tilted her head and pondered for a moment, muttering, "It seems like he really hasn't, so in that case, other than his foul mouth, his temper seems to be good." Lin Mo stopped there and didn't say more. He didn't know if Chu Ji had a good temper, but when facing Mu Xiaogu, his temper was definitely good. He was just guessing, and the facts were indeed so. At this time, he felt Chu Ji's gaze on him, with a hint of gratitude in his eyes. Obviously he had heard what he said. Chu Ji was a very smart person, and these kinds of people were often very careful. And Mu Xiaogu was very careless, a forthright tomboy. The two, one yin and one yang, one rough and one refined, one firm and one gentle, could indeed be a match. Night fell, and looking up, one could see a bright moon. This was a satellite of the star, and it didn't look like it was formed naturally, with obvious traces of artificial construction. In the myths and legends of the human race, the moon was a very important part, with extraordinary significance. In reality, the existence of the moon could bring vitality to the star. Most life stars would have a moon. Even if they didn't have one, those god reverends and god kings would carry out some transformations, which wasn't difficult. Lin Mo came to a grassland on the star, sat on the grass, and looked up at the starry sky. There was also a starry sky here, and also a galaxy, very beautiful. It's been many years since I've looked at the night sky like this. He still remembered that in the small world, there were many nights when he looked up at the starry sky like this, wanting to know what the great world was like. At that time, Ning Yi, Shu Han, Mu Shenxian, and Mo Yun would accompany him. Without saying a word, just that feeling made him very happy. But now, he could only watch it alone. After watching for a long time, Lin Mo Yu began to use the mission system in the Divine City for the first time. Different from the mission system in the 4-star domains, there was no need for a mission center, nor a mission platform, it could be opened directly in the Human Emperor network. With a thought from Lin Mo Yu, a list appeared in front of him, listing the missions he could currently accept. There weren't many missions, only 8, and the scope involved only a few nearby star systems. The missions in the Divine City were restricted by the star system, also restricted by the realm, and also restricted by the degree of danger. Some missions required the realm of God King 8th Order as a starting point, so Lin Mo Yu couldn't accept them. Since he couldn't accept them, he naturally couldn't see them. There were also some missions that were very difficult, in order to verify that you could accept high difficulty missions, rather than going to die. The Human Emperor Network would arrange some pre-missions. Only after completing the pre-missions could you receive the subsequent missions. Sometimes, someone would complete a mission and find that new missions had appeared behind it, which meant that the mission he had just completed belonged to the pre-mission of another mission. Overall, the mission system in the Divine City had become more rigorous. This also showed that the difficulty of the missions had increased, and the danger had also increased. Among the 8 missions that Lin Mo Yu could currently accept, only one belonged to the Secret Realm mission. And only this mission had the best rewards. The Secret Realm mission could reward 10 points of Divine City merit, while ordinary missions generally only rewarded 1 point of Divine City merit, plus some points. These points could also increase the permission level, so the permission level of the people who went out from the Divine City wasn't low. After Lin Mo Yu accepted the mission, he obtained the detailed information of the mission. Divine City Mission. Explore the Poisonous Bee Secret Realm. Enter the Poisonous Bee Secret Realm and eliminate the Poisonous Bee Swarm. Restrictions. God King 4th Order to God King 9th Order can enter. Completion condition. Obtain the corpse of the Poisonous Bee Mother. Mission reward. Reward 10 points of Divine City merit, no penalty for failure. Notes. There are a large number of poisonous bees in the Poisonous Bee Secret Realm. The strength of the poisonous bees is between God King 3rd Order and God King 9th Order. Poisonous bees have highly toxic poison, please prepare detoxification pills. Occasionally a poisonous bee king will be born in the poisonous bee swarm. If encountered, please escape immediately. You can use Divine City merit to purchase escape talismans. If there is danger, you can use escape talismans to leave the secret realm. After entering the Great World, Lin Mo Yu had entered the secret realm. Whether it was the secret realm virtualized by the Human Emperor Network, or the secret realm in the real world, he had entered it. But judging from the mission description alone, the danger level of the Poisonous Bee Secret Realm was higher. And the feeling this secret realm gave him was very similar to the dungeon in the small world. After accepting the mission, a virtual map appeared in front of Lin Mo Yu. Through the map guidance, he could rush to the location of the secret realm. Lin Mo Yu wasn't in a hurry to go, and took out the Jade token given by Chu Ji. Activating the Jade token, he read the information in it. Chu Ji recorded in the Jade token his encounters after entering the secret realm. After entering the secret realm, he quickly encountered the poisonous bee swarm. The number of the poisonous bee swarm was about 1,000, the weakest was God King 3rd Order, and the strongest was God King 5th Order. With Chu Ji's strength, it wasn't a problem for him to deal with them. The fact was also so, Chu Ji easily solved the poisonous bee swarm. Next, he encountered 2 more waves of poisonous bee swarms, but they were easily solved by him. It was precisely because of this that he relaxed his vigilance. When encountering the 5th wave of poisonous bee swarm, Chu Ji discovered the nest of the poisonous bee swarm. The poisonous bee mother was generally in the nest. At that time he felt that the difficulty of the mission wasn't high, so he boldly followed in. In the nest, he encountered a large number of poisonous bees, but the poisonous bees weren't his opponents, and didn't pose a threat to Chu Ji. But unknowingly, Chu Ji suddenly found that he was poisoned, and his combat power began to decline. However, at the time, he still held a glimmer of hope, as his battle power, although diminished, was still within an acceptable range. Later, he indeed found the queen bee, but just as he was about to kill her, the poison completely erupted at that moment. He instantly lost his fighting ability and saw a giant bee next to the queen bee. This bee was huge, no smaller than the queen bee itself, and it spewed out terrifying poisonous mist that almost killed him on the spot. In the last moment before losing consciousness, Chuji activated the escape jade token and fled. After escaping, he spent several days recuperating before recovering, a true escape from death. Chapter 1570. Going further and further down the path of seeking death. Lin Mo Yu put away the jade token. The information obtained from it wasn't much, but it was still somewhat useful. The mission description already stated that the poison bee realm had potent poison and required protection. This poison didn't necessarily require an attack or a bite to be poisoned. The poison could enter the body through various methods and forms, seeping into the soul. Many poisons were even impossible to defend against. In the God City Star region, most secret realms are dangerous, and Chuji knew this. He had made ample preparations before entering the secret realm. He had several types of antidotes prepared, but none of them worked. Chuji had also tried his best to gather information about the secret realm before entering, and the result he obtained was that this secret realm was relatively safe. With his realm, as long as he wasn't particularly unlucky and encountered the poison bee king, there wouldn't be any danger. But the reality is often so unsatisfactory. Was the giant bee that Chuji saw at the end the poison bee king? If he encountered the poison bee king, he might not have had a chance to escape. The mission described the poison bee king as so terrifying that Lin Mo Yu felt that if Chuji really encountered the poison bee king while heavily poisoned, he might not have had a chance to escape. I still need to see it with my own eyes. According to the information I have so far, this secret realm has no effect on me. 430. But the mission is a bit strange. Since it's an exploration of the poison bee realm, it's necessary to go to the end. Why is the mission completed after obtaining the corpse of the queen bee? Based on his previous experience in the world's small dungeons, Lin Mo Yu felt that the poison bee king was the leader boss, while the queen bee could only be considered a boss monster. Following the guidance of the virtual map, Lin Mo Yu left the star and flew towards the secret realm. The secret realm was about 500 million kilometers away from star 12,998-1. Summoning the light speed lich and transforming into a stream of light, he flew at a speed of 150,000 kilometers per second. If there were no accidents, he would arrive in about 1 hour. This speed already surpassed all god kings and was even faster than lesser god sovereigns. Only god sovereigns could match Lin Mo Yu in speed. Of course, god sovereigns often used treasures of the god sovereign realm, which could surpass the speed of light. The star behind him quickly shrank, turning into a small dot in the blink of an eye. Then the star became smaller and smaller, and Lin Mo Yu was flying towards the outer edge of the 12,998 star system. The light of the star gradually weakened, and the starry sky became darker and darker. Countless starlight flew from distant places, bringing faint light. Gradually, Lin Mo Yu saw many streams of light. Each stream of light represented a cultivator. A large number of cultivators flew from different stars, all with the same destination. The closer he got to the secret realm, the more cultivators there were. The number of cultivators in God City was indeed very large, far exceeding the 4-star regions. This was the result of countless years of accumulation, and there was no comparison. Lin Mo Yu's speed far exceeded theirs, leaving them far behind. How can this person fly so fast? What kind of secret technique is this? How can he fly so fast? This can't be the speed of a god king. This person is probably a god sovereign. Countless questions echoed in the starry sky. The cultivators communicated using soul transmission, all with surprise and doubt. Some tried to use their magic treasures to chase Lin Mo Yu, but found that they couldn't catch up at all and could only watch him go away. How could a god king 4th order guy fly so fast? His name is Lin Mo Yu. I feel like this name is a bit familiar. Lin Mo Yu, wasn't that the name of the top ranker in the 4-star regions competition? It should be the same name. No, I remember that Lin Mo Yu who got the top rank was also a god king 4th order. Same name, same realm, could it really be him? The top ranker of the competition has come to God City. This is big news. This is a real genius. I heard that his true combat power is comparable to a god sovereign. Lin Mo Yu now has a great reputation, and many people in God City know him. The top rankers in the 4-star regions competition can quickly rise after entering God City. They can break through to become God sovereigns at an extremely fast speed, and then in a few years, they can reach high-level God sovereigns, and then establish families and sects, becoming the masters of one-star system. In their opinion, Lin Mo Yu can also do this, and even more terrifying than previous top rankers. After all, Lin Mo Yu is only a God King 4th Order, and he can have such exaggerated AEFE combat power, his future is limitless. Lin Mo Yu gradually approached the secret realm and finally saw the full picture of the secret realm. It was a ball of light. According to the guidance of the map, this ball of light was the entrance to the secret realm. There were faint vortexes in the ball of light, and Lin Mo Yu trembled in his heart, almost blurting out, "Dungeon." It was indeed too similar to the dungeons of the small world. If someone said that the dungeons of the small world were modeled after the secret realms here, Lin Mo Yu would have no doubts. A pile of mysteries arose in his heart out of thin air. He deeply realized that his small world had shockingly large hidden secrets. With his current knowledge, he couldn't understand it at all. After getting a little closer, a vast aura rushed towards him. Lin Mo Yu frowned slightly. This aura was not unfamiliar to him. This is the aura of ancient times. He felt the aura of ancient times from the entrance of the secret realm, but it seemed different from the aura of the mysterious manor. After careful feeling, Lin Mo Yu knew the source of the aura. It was the broken finger outside the God City Star region. The two auras were exactly the same. The secret realm belonged to a part of that broken finger. Lin Mo Yu quickly imagined the scene of ancient times, the battlefield of that terrible existence, a broken finger left here. His broken finger was too big, and his power was too strong. The broken finger did not die but remained, and even changed the rules, becoming a terrible abandoned place. The strands of energy that flew out of the broken finger eventually turned into equally terrible secret realms. The secret realms also changed the rules, and over time formed their own unique rules, forming various restrictions. Under Lin Mo Yu's powerful imagination, the cause of the secret realm appeared, and it formed a logical loop. The reason why he could imagine this was mainly because he had experienced things related to ancient times time and time again. He had not only seen ancient tombs, but also entered the world of Tulu, which had been destroyed. Repeated experiences brought him valuable knowledge and experience. Lin Mo Yu didn't know if what he thought was right, but he felt that it wouldn't be far from the truth. Those terrible existences can be reborn from a drop of blood. Every hair on their body contains a soul and ancient memories. If that's the case, will there also be an ancient aura in the depths of the secret realm? If the secret realm is part of a strong person's body, I'll use resurrection. Thinking of this, Lin Mo trembled, feeling that he was going further and further down the road of courting death. He had already courted death once in the Turu realm, and he had almost died for real. Between life and death, there is not only great terror, but also great opportunity. The trip to the Turu realm allowed his soul to reach the other shore realm, a great opportunity beyond imagination. This time in the secret realm, Lin Mo thought about it and didn't dare to really do it. Those guys in the Turu realm were in the other shore realm before they died. Although the other shore realm is powerful, it is not unattainable. But if this guy in front of him is really resurrected, then who knows what realm he will be in. One level higher than the other shore realm or several levels higher. That kind of incredible existence is frightening to think about, and he might be killed with a single thought. Can't court death. Erasing unrealistic thoughts, Lin Mo stopped at the entrance of the secret realm. Chapter 1571. Rune debris in the light spots. At the entrance of the secret realm, a vortex slowly rotated, resembling the entrance of a dungeon by 7 or 8 points. There were quite a few cultivators outside the secret realm. Many people had received quests to enter the secret realm. However, the secret realm quests were not easy to complete, and people were constantly being teleported out of the secret realm. Most people had expressions of frustration and panic, and very few could successfully complete the quest. Lin Mo observed for more than 10 minutes and saw more than a dozen people leave the secret realm. Only one of them had an excited expression, indicating that he had completed the quest. More people ended in failure. Although there was no penalty, they all used escape talismans to leave, losing an escape talisman. Escape talismans are not cheap, costing 5 points of Divine City merit. Losing 5 points of Divine City merit is still very painful. Lin Mo also bought an escape talisman. Although it was unlikely to be needed, it was always good to be prepared. Reaching out to touch the vortex, his soul power moved slightly, resonating with the vortex. His whole person was instantly sucked into it, The feeling was exactly the same as entering a dungeon. Not long after Lin Mo entered the secret realm, a large group of people arrived, all of whom had been surpassed by Lin Mo before. He went in. If it's really him, with his strength, he will definitely be able to complete the quest. He's not just completing the quest, he might even be able to complete the subsequent quests. This difficulty seems a bit too high, right? It's difficult for others, but it shouldn't be difficult for him. Their discussion immediately attracted the attention of many people. When they learned that the young man who had just entered was Lin Mo, the first place in the 4-star region competition, they all widened their eyes. Is it really Lin Mo? But how could he get here? Even if he is the first place in the 4-star region competition, he has enough Divine City merit, but doesn't he need to do an advancement quest? It's only been a few days since the end of the 4-star region competition, how could he complete the advancement quest so quickly? I heard that true geniuses in the 4-star region are directly granted the initial qualification without any requirements. I've heard of that too, but there are very few such people, only a handful. Lin Mo should have obtained the initial qualification without any requirements. Don't worry, we'll know when he comes out. These people all decided not to enter the secret realm and waited for Lin Mo to come out outside the secret realm. Entering the Divine City secret realm felt exactly the same as entering a dungeon, which made Lin Mo very sure that the small world's dungeons and secret realms must be related. His feet stepped on solid ground, the darkness in front of him turned to light, and his vision became clear. The fragrance of flowers wafted into his nostrils, and his eyes saw a sea of flowers competing for beauty. He was currently in the middle of the sea of flowers. Everyone enters the secret realm in a different location. This is different from dungeons, there is no so-called starting point, and there is no safe zone. Lin Mo guessed that if someone was unlucky, was it possible to be directly teleported into a swarm of poisonous bees? He might die as soon as he came in. A gust of wind blew, and the sea of flowers swayed like waves, making a rustling sound. The colorful colors swayed before his eyes, the whole picture was stunningly beautiful. I really didn't expect that there would be such beautiful scenery in the secret realm. Lin Mo sighed in his heart, but he did not relax his vigilance because of this. On the contrary, the more beautiful a place is, the more dangerous it often is. A flash of white light appeared beside him, and a skeleton god warrior appeared. The undead vision instantly opened. 1, 2, 10, 100. Countless soul flames appeared in the undead vision. All directions were filled with raging soul flames. The thing Lin Mo had just guessed had come true. He had already entered the encirclement of a swarm of poisonous bees. One can imagine that if he had not noticed, just a random action would have alarmed these poisonous bees. Switching back to his real vision, he faintly saw a poisonous bee the size of a fist, resting in a bright flower. The soul fire told him that this was a third-order God King poisonous bee, belonging to the weakest type. There were thousands of poisonous bees here, basically all third-order God Kings, and a few fourth-order God Kings. Only the leader was a fifth-order God King. After entering the secret realm, Lin Mo did not make any noise, even summoning the skeleton god warrior was silent. The poisonous bees were still collecting honey in the flowers, without any reaction. Lin Mo slowly raised his hand and looked at the sky. The sky was very bright, as if sunlight was shining down, the entire secret realm world was very bright. Gray flames burned at his fingertips. Stellar level spell, undead gaze. The sky suddenly became dim, and gray undead fire was born out of thin air, burning fiercely in the air. The entire secret realm seemed to be connected to the undead world, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a gray world. An undead eye with a size of 10 million meters slowly opened in the gray flames. From the scale of the great world, 10 million meters is nothing. 10 million meters is only 10,000 kilometers. Any god king can fly from one end to the other in the blink of an eye. 0. Seeking fresh flowers. 0. But in the secret realm, 10 million meters is already very amazing. At least the sea of flowers where Lin Mo is currently located is not 10 million meters large, maybe not even 100,000 meters. The appearance of the undead eye caused a riot in the sea of flowers. The poisonous bees felt uneasy and gave up their work, rising into the air. As soon as they flew up, the undead eye had already gazed over. A large number of poisonous bees fell like raindrops. Their souls were erased, and they died instantly. From the third-order god kings to the fifth-order god kings, none of the thousands of poisonous bees survived. Facing enemies of comparable strength or weaker, this was a true weapon of mass destruction. Indiscriminate soul attack, massive range, instantaneous kill. Countless points of light rose into the sky, the dead poisonous bees turning into dust and scattering with the wind, leaving no corpses behind. The sky filled with rising points of light, like a rain of light flowing against the current, exceptionally beautiful. 0. This is. Lin Moyu's gaze slightly narrowed. Among the rising points of light, he saw something unusual. It seemed there were things similar to runes, faintly visible within the points of light. When he tried to see them clearly, he found it difficult. These runes seemed to be just phantoms. Lin Moyu even suspected if he was seeing things. For a God King realm expert to see things, it seemed somewhat unbelievable. Lin Moyu naturally knew he couldn't be seeing things, there really were runes within the points of light. He opened his soul eye, since the naked eye couldn't see clearly, then he would use the soul eye to look. The soul of the other shore realm opened its eyes, shooting out 2 invisible rays of light. The world before him instantly became different. Lines of laws emerged around him, he saw the world belonging to the other shore realm. Through the soul eye, Lin Moyu finally truly saw the runes within the points of light. They were all incomplete runes, none were complete. Lin Moyu realized that the runes he was seeing were likely parts of a complete rune. It was like a giant puzzle was broken, and what was presented before him now was the image after the rune was shattered. Perhaps piecing these fragments back together could possibly reassemble the complete rune. The points of light only lasted for a few seconds before disappearing, the runes within also disappearing along with them. However, Lin Moyu already knew how to continue observing the runes. A large number of skeleton god warriors appeared, flying in all directions. Killing poisonous bees and looking at runes became Lin Moyu's most desired things to do at the moment. Lin Moyu even put the secret realm mission behind him. The mission had no time limit, there was no need to rush. Chapter 1572. Terrifying Runes, 3 times Reflection. The skeleton god warriors had already gone out to find poisonous bee swarms, while Lin Moyu stood motionless in the sea of flowers. The eye of the undead still existed in the sky, the undead flames burning fiercely, rendering the secret realm gray. Lin Moyu's mind was racing, he was thinking, connecting various causes and effects. He muttered to himself, organizing a highly probable result. In a distant time, a terrifying existence surpassing the other shore realm, died and the Tao dissipated. No, that's not right, he died but his Tao didn't dissipate. Having reached his realm, the laws he cultivated, the Tao he walked had already permeated every corner of his body. That severed finger is the best proof, the flesh is destroyed, but the Tao still exists. His Tao formed the ancient ruins. Countless pieces of flesh and blood scattered in the God City Star region turned into secret realms. Secret realms or ancient ruins, are the Tao left behind by that powerful being. Not only the Tao, but also memories. The other shore realm, bigwigs want to learn about the events that occurred in ancient times by studying the Tao he left behind. Bits and pieces of information were connected at this moment. Everything became logical. Lin Moyu discovered that he seemed to be doing something similar to the other shore realm experts now. He wasn't thinking about completing the mission, but about studying the other party's Tao. Unknowingly, he had already stood at such a high position. His thoughts had already broken free from the limitations that ordinary god kings should have. Perhaps even god sovereigns hadn't thought about studying the Tao of such an existence. After reaching a conclusion, Lin Moyu realized something. This powerful being's Tao seemed to ultimately be manifested using runes. In the Great World, runes are the true source. After all, the Great World runes are the foundation of this world. Everything, big and small, can be described and expressed using runes. Old Shu was right, studying runes thoroughly can allow one to control this great world. Lin Moyu had a feeling of sudden enlightenment, knowing how he should proceed next. While improving his realm, study and control runes. He could even use runes to enhance his own spells. A buzzing sound came from his ears. The skeleton god warriors brought back a large number of poisonous bees. 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. Tens of thousands of poisonous bees flew in from all directions. The skeleton god warriors resumed their old business. Like in a dungeon, they began to desperately pull monsters. This was just the first wave, there were more to come. The skeleton god warriors ran back and forth, flying around in circles, gathering all the poisonous bees they had attracted. Lin Moyu's heart stirred, and the eye of the undead in the sky immediately gazed down. Like the arrival of the god of death, the terrifying power from the world of the dead, turned into an invisible giant hand, erasing the souls of the poisonous bees. Tens of thousands of poisonous bees turned into corpses, pouring down. Then they turned into points of light and rose against the current. This time the points of light were very dense, almost forming a curtain of light. Lin Mo Yu's eyes shot out bright light, the purple chi in his soul world surged, and the soul eye had completely opened. His brain was also running at full speed at this moment. He wasn't trying to analyze what runes these were. Lin Mo Yu was very clear that with his current realm, it was impossible to analyze such high-end runes. He was only trying to remember these rune fragments, and then piece them together. Trying to piece together complete runes as much as possible, perhaps in the future, he would be able to understand these runes. Only when he really started doing it did he realize how high the difficulty was. When he carefully looked at these runes, wanting to remember them, he realized how complex these rune fragments were. Looking at runes wasn't just about the shape, but also about the internal flow of power, the deep-seated patterns. That was the core of the runes. It wasn't that taking a pen and drawing the exact same runes on paper could make the runes work. Having the shape alone was useless, you also needed the spirit. What Lin Mo Yu was memorizing wasn't the topography within the rune fragments, but the spirit within. As long as the spirit was right, the shape was not difficult at all. It was just that this spirit was too obscure and difficult, its level was too high, exceeding Lin Mo Yu's range of understanding. Lin Mo Yu remembered it very hard, and soon felt his brain being emptied, his soul power being greatly consumed, and the talent giant tree couldn't replenish it in time. After reaching the other shore realm, it was the first time that soul depletion had occurred. The curtain of light disappeared after lasting for several seconds, and the rune fragments within also disappeared along with it. Lin Mo Yu panted lightly, calming his soul power. His soul power had been consumed too much for a while, and was now recovering rapidly. Just now, he had only remembered less than 10 fragments out of the thousands of rune fragments. Just these 10 fragments had already pushed him to his limit. More than 10 minutes later, with the help of the talent giant tree, his soul power recovered to 70 or 80%. Lin Mo Yu compared the 10 fragments he had just remembered with the soul fire runes arranged by Old Shu, and found that there was no comparison at all. The two are not on the same level at all. He can face the soul fire rune directly. Although he doesn't understand it, his soul can completely withstand it. He can accurately grasp the divinity contained within the soulfire rune, even gaining some understanding. But now, he has memorized these fragments but cannot comprehend them at all. Even fragments are so terrifying, essentially surpassing the soulfire rune. If it could truly be drawn, how terrifying would this rune be? The rune contains not just laws, but rules. Unfortunately, I know nothing about the power of rules. In the end, I'm being too ambitious. My vision is high, but my own realm hasn't kept up. Perhaps I can forcefully memorize it, but understanding it is beyond my current realm. While pondering, Lin Mo also reflected on himself. His vision is indeed high. He has even come into contact with saint sovereigns, entered and exited places related to the ancient times several times, discovered the existence of other worlds, and seen a wider world. The elevation of his vision allows him to stand at a higher point to observe the world. But at the same time, his true realm is not high enough. He stands at a high point, sees the entire world, but cannot understand the operating rules of this world. Fortunately, he understands the principle of examining himself thrice daily and never does things beyond his capabilities. The exploration of runes must continue. Runes are the truth of this world. Moreover, it is the lure of high-level power. Exploring runes can satisfy his strong curiosity. He'll memorize them first, and when his realm improves in the future, he'll come back and study them carefully. The skeleton god warriors brought back news from afar. They found a cave, guarded by a large number of poisonous bees. Combined with the information given by Chu Ji, the cave likely contains a poison bee mother. Of course, they may also encounter a poison bee king. The eye of 10,000 undead in the sky slowly disappeared, the undead flames faded, and the scenery in the secret realm returned to its brightness. Streaks of light flew over the sea of flowers, stirring up even more turbulent waves. Large amounts of petals were carried into the sky, and the colorful petals fell like raindrops. Lin Mo flew out of the sea of flowers, then passed through a grassland, and hills appeared in his sight. The skeleton god warriors had already scouted the way. He didn't stop and rushed into the hills. The moment he rushed into the hills, the original sea of flowers suddenly changed. A large number of flowers withered, as if their life force had been drained by some power. The ground of the sea of flowers slowly rose, and a large hand emerged from the ground, covered with rune fragments. Chapter 1573. Rune Fragments on the Bee Egg. The sudden change in the sea of flowers was also silent, and even Lin Mo didn't sense it. At this moment, Lin Mo had already flown into the mountains and forests, arriving in front of a cave. The entrance of the cave was about 5 meters high, enough for him to pass through. Before his arrival, many skeleton god warriors had already entered. The map of the cave's terrain had already been drawn in his mind. The cave is full of passages. Inside are a large number of poisonous bees, and the surrounding rock walls are full of holes, which are the poisonous bees' residences. What's more peculiar is that a large number of flowers are growing in the cave. Flowers are all over the cave, with a high density. However, the undead vision only has black and white colors, so the specific appearance of the flowers cannot be seen clearly. However, it is a very strange and bizarre thing in itself to have flowers growing in a cave full of poisonous bees. In the information given by Chu Ji, there was no mention of flowers. Perhaps he simply didn't notice it at the time. The skeleton god warriors had already attracted all the poisonous bees near the entrance. After Lin Mo entered the cave, he did not encounter any poisonous bees. Lin Mo was shrouded in a layer of gray and white light, which looked like very thin mist, and even the space seemed to be a little distorted. That is the bone hell covering his body. The bone hell can be released to fight enemies, or it can be retracted to form a shield. If there is danger, the bone hell is the first layer of barrier. Shortly after entering the cave, Lin Mo saw the flowers. The flowers have a similar color to the rock wall, slightly yellowish-brown. Although there are many, they are not conspicuous and can easily be overlooked. Lin Mo glanced at the flowers, and there was indeed nothing wrong with them. The real problem is not the flowers, but the yellowish-brown grass hidden behind the flowers. The yellowish-brown grass is very inconspicuous, because the colors are similar, and the flowers block it, so it is even less likely to attract attention. However, Lin Mo noticed that the yellowish grass was constantly spewing out poisonous gas. This poison is invisible and intangible, and people will not feel it immediately. By the time you feel it, it's already too late. These poisons will penetrate into the body and even into the soul through the skin, constantly accumulating and gathering, becoming more and more. It's like a time bomb, waiting to be detonated. The bone hell glowed slightly, and all the poisonous gas in the cave entered the bone hell without touching Lin Mo. In fact, even if it did touch him, it wouldn't matter. Passive spells are enough for Lin Mo to be immune to this level of poison. In the cave with many passages, the skeleton god warriors traveled at an amazing speed. Behind them were dense, countless poisonous bees. In less than half an hour, the skeleton god warriors had traveled through most of the cave and attracted all the poisonous bees. It is not convenient to use undead gaze in the cave. If corpse explosion could be used, the killing effect would be better. Unfortunately, after the poisonous bees die, no corpses are left behind. According to the terrain, Lin Mo chose a relatively empty area. Thousands of skeleton god generals arranged battle formations in a three-dimensional manner. After the skeleton god warriors led the swarm of poisonous bees over, the skeleton god generals waved their sword energy and launched a deadly attack. Faced with the attack of a small god sovereign realm, the swarm of poisonous bees had no power to fight back. A large number of poisonous bees died in the sword energy. The dead poisonous bees turned into light spots and began to flow upstream. The cave could not form an obstacle to the light spots. They were like invisible existences, easily drilling into the rock walls and disappearing. As such, Lin Mo had no chance to observe the runes in the cave. In just a few minutes, countless poisonous bees had been wiped out. The skeleton god warriors had now run through most of the cave and found the correct route. Lin Mo's feeling at the moment was like returning to the small world and playing a dungeon. He had long been familiar with this kind of thing. He transformed the skeleton god warriors into skeleton god generals to lead the way, followed the correct path, and entered deep into the cave. According to Lin Mo's understanding, there should be many similar caves. Not every cave will have a poison bee mother. He doesn't know if the cave he is in now has one. It all depends on luck. The path of the cave gradually became wider, and later the height exceeded 10 meters, and the width was the same. What does this mean? It means that a big guy has passed through here. Could it be the poison bee mother, or the poison bee king? From here on, there were no ordinary poisonous bees. Obviously, in the poisonous bees, the structural hierarchy is also very clear. Some places cannot be entered by ordinary poisonous bees. Lin Mo found that the poison in the space had increased a lot. The number of flowers and grass around had become more dense, and the more concentrated poison had gradually become visible to the naked eye. Unbeknownst to anyone, a light yellow mist began to permeate the air. He was surrounded by the bone hell, ignoring the light yellow mist. After passing a bend, the view suddenly opened up. A pool of water appeared in sight. The water was very clear, like a mirror, calm and still. Beside the pool, there were 2 giant bee eggs. The bee eggs were about 3 meters high, with openings at the top, constantly sucking in the yellow mist, and then spewing it out like a volcanic eruption. The whole process was accompanied by the contraction and expansion of the bee eggs, as if some creature was breathing. Lin Mo Yu was attracted to the bee eggs with just one glance. As the bee eggs spewed and breathed, a large number of rune fragments appeared on the surface. Like the runes he saw in the light spots, they were all fragments. But this time, he no longer needed to use the Eye of Soul, he could directly see them with the naked eye. Just as Lin Mo Yu wanted to take a closer look, the bee eggs suddenly spewed out a large amount of mist. The original thin yellow mist instantly became thick, like the dense sulfur before a volcanic eruption, instantly covering the bee eggs, and the next second it filled the entire space. The toxicity in the mist increased sharply. If it were an ordinary god king, he would have to retreat at this moment, waiting for the poisonous mist to dissipate. If the reaction was slow, he might even face danger. But for Lin Mo Yu, it was not so troublesome at all. The skeleton god general didn't care about these poisonous mists at all, and directly launched an attack on the bee eggs. As sword energy bombarded them, the bee eggs exploded, once again releasing a large amount of 820 poisonous gas. At the same time, ear-piercing screams rang out in the cave. 4 giant poisonous bees rushed over. They moved through the thick fog at a very fast speed. The thick fog did not affect them at all. Judging by the strength of the soul fire, they were all around the 8th rank of the God King. Then, Lin Mo Yu saw them. Compared to the poisonous bees that were only the size of a fist, they could be considered behemoths. Their bodies exceeded 2 meters, and 4 pairs of transparent wings vibrated rapidly, making a buzzing sound. On their mouths and tails, there were slender stingers. The stingers gleamed with a strange light, obviously carrying highly toxic poison. Boom! The moment they appeared, all the thick fog exploded. The poison became extremely strong in an instant. Lin Mo Yu realized that Chuji had faced this situation back then. The 4 giant poisonous bees in front of him were what Chuji had seen back then. It wasn't the Poison Bee King, so Chuji had a chance to escape back. If it were the Poison Bee King, Chuji would probably have fallen. The 4 giant poisonous bees were not very powerful in terms of strength, only at the 8th rank of the God King. The only trouble was their poison. If there was no poison, it would not be difficult to solve them. The best way was to leave first, and come back when the poisonous gas had dissipated. Or prepare magic weapons and pills to prevent poison, and kill them head-on. Lin Mo Yu chose the latter. At the same time as the giant poisonous bees detonated the poison, the skeleton god general had already rushed over to kill. The bone sword in his hand was extremely sharp, the sword light flickered, and the giant poisonous bees were dismembered into 8 pieces. Chapter 1574 Continuing the exploration, is it good for you? After the giant poisonous bees died, they did not turn into light spots like ordinary poisonous bees. On their corpses, a dazzling beam of light suddenly rushed out. Countless rune fragments flashed across the beam of light. It was just that the beam of light lasted too short, only about 2 seconds before and after, and the incident happened suddenly. Lin Mo Yu also failed to grasp this opportunity. From the rune fragments that appeared in the light spots after the initial poisonous bee died, to the dense rune fragments on the bee eggs later, to the rune fragments in the beam of light after the giant poisonous bees died. Everything was telling Lin Mo Yu that everything in the secret realm was composed of runes. After the bee eggs and giant poisonous bees were killed, the poisonous gas in the entire cave quickly weakened, and there was no longer any threat. Continuing to walk deeper into the cave, along the direction the giant poisonous bees came from, they finally entered the deepest part of the cave. Here, Lin Mo Yu saw the poison bee mother. The poison bee mother was a circle larger than the giant poisonous bees. The poison bee mother was sitting on the ground. Behind it was a giant hive. The hive was very large, shaped like a large sphere, with a diameter of more than 10 meters. Countless poisonous bees were crawling on it. The cave was just where the poisonous bees lived, and this was the place where poisonous bees were bred. Around the poison bee mother, there were also 4 bee eggs, and in front of each bee egg there was a giant poisonous bee, seemingly guarding the bee eggs. There is no poison bee king. Lin Moyu felt a little disappointed. He found the poison bee mother, but he did not see the poison bee king. The mission reminded him that if he encountered the poison bee king, he should not consider anything else and turn around and run. But it was also obvious that the probability of encountering the poison bee king was very low. Lin Moyu even guessed that he might not be able to encounter this kind of giant poisonous bee every time. The appearance of the poison bee mother reminded Lin Moyu of a copy he had experienced before, the Tyrant Desert. There was a boss-level monster inside, called the Ant Queen. The structure of the entire ant tribe seemed to be a bit similar to the poisonous bees in front of him. The inexplicable sense of familiarity made Lin Moyu feel strange. Perhaps it's a coincidence. With a thought, the skeleton god general had already rushed into attack. The poison bee mother screamed, and bursts of sound waves spread out, unexpectedly pushing the skeleton god general back several steps. The poison bee mother was only at the 8th rank of the god king, with a level equivalent to that of the giant poisonous bees. Its screams could actually push back the skeleton god general in the little god Venerable realm. It had to be said, it was very surprising. But it was only pushed back, and did not cause any damage to the skeleton god general. After pushing back the skeleton god general, the poison bee mother's screams turned high-pitched. The hive behind it also began to rumble and vibrate, and a large number of poisonous bees flew out from it. A large number of poisonous bees hatched, instantly exceeding 1,000 meters. The poisonous bees were like an army, led by 4 giant poisonous bees, rushing to kill. If it were other cultivators, facing this level of attack, they would definitely retreat first. Using the terrain, using magic weapons, to counterattack. After all, now there was no poison, cultivators could let go of their hands and feet and act boldly. As long as their strength was not bad, and their experience was not bad, destroying them was not a difficult task. For Lin Moyu, it was even simpler. With a light tap of his finger, the bone hell instantly enlarged, covering the entire cave. The slaves in the bone hell immediately took action, the wonders of creation cast the power of squeezing, and the 3 race-allied forces launched attacks at the same time. A large number of poisonous bees were quickly killed and turned into light spots. Lin Moyu discovered that the light spots formed after these poisonous bees died could not escape the bone hell, nor could they return to the secret realm. The bone hell was like another space, trapping these light spots. Then the rune fragments contained in the light spots were also trapped in the bone hell. It can still be like this. Lin Moyu was slightly surprised. He did not expect the bone hell to have such a function. The light spots from the dead poison bees danced in the bone hell. Carrying the power of rune fragments, they charged wildly within the bone hell, seemingly trying to return, but all in vain. Lin Mo's eyes lit up. In that case, can I trap them all inside and study them slowly? I could even use the bone hell to piece together the runes completely. Even if I can't understand them now, I can still take a look at what the ancient runes were like. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. After flying around for a while, these light spots shattered like bubbles and disappeared completely. It's not working. His idea failed, and he was slightly disappointed. But this was also expected. If it were so easy to obtain, the rune fragments would be too worthless. It's normal for the rune fragments to disappear now. Faced with the bone hell's slaughter, the poison bee swarm and giant poison bees couldn't even last a minute. Soon, only the poison bee mother was left in the cave. Things like bee venom would turn into light and disappear after death. The task requires obtaining the poison bee mother's corpse, so it should be special, at least leaving a corpse behind after death. With her subordinates all killed, the poison bee mother was clearly a bit stunned, as if she hadn't reacted for a moment. It screamed frantically, but to no avail. The nest behind it was still squirming, but it couldn't breed more poison bees in time. It seemed to sense the arrival of death. It had no intelligence and didn't know what fear was. It just twisted frantically and uneasily out of instinct. Sword energy burst out, illuminating the cave into a world of pure white. The screaming stopped abruptly, and the poison bee mother fell to the ground. A beam of light flew out of it, and a large number of rune fragments also appeared in the beam. Its corpse shrank in the light beam, but did not disappear completely. Finally, the poison bee mother's corpse became the size of a fist, like a piece of paper, looking like a specimen. Lin Mo went over and picked up the poison bee mother's corpse. Boom! The cave shook violently, and the rock wall in front collapsed, revealing a brand new passage. The mission isn't over yet. Is this the exit? Just as Lin Mo was thinking, a dark vortex appeared beside him at the same time. The aura of the great world came from the vortex, and he could feel the power from the human emperor network. This was the real exit. He had completed the task, and he could leave the secret realm and return to the Divine City Star region through the exit. 10 points of Divine City merit had been successfully obtained. But what about the passage in front of him? At this moment, Lin Mo suddenly received a reminder from the Human Emperor Network. Exploring the Poison Bee Secret Realm, the first stage of the mission has been completed. You can choose to continue exploring, complete the second stage of the mission, and obtain more rewards. Rewards will vary depending on the extent of exploration. Please note that the danger of the second stage of exploration will be greatly increased. If there is danger, you can leave through the escape talisman. The first stage rewards are still valid. Please make a choice within 1 minute. He didn't expect to receive information from the Human Emperor Network in the secret realm. Lin Mo carefully recalled his experience after entering the secret realm. He found that the power of the Human Emperor Network had actually penetrated into the secret realm. It's just that this penetration remains on the surface and cannot truly interfere with the operation of the secret realm. In beyond realm terms, it cannot change the rules of the secret realm. But the Human Emperor Network is also very powerful, and its power can already interfere with the secret realm to some extent. For example, dividing the task into stages and creating exits using mission items as coordinates after completing the first stage. As for the second stage, Lin Mo estimated that the secret realm itself does not have any tasks, and these tasks are all set by the Human Emperor Network. At the same time, the Human Emperor Network must also have its true purpose. Having to make a choice within 1 minute means that the Human Emperor Network's interference in the secret realm can only last for 1 minute. Lin Mo tried to communicate with the Human Emperor Network. If I continue to explore, will it benefit you? He believed that the Human Emperor Network could understand, or the person behind the Human Emperor Network could understand. A full half a minute passed before the Human Emperor Network sent back a word, yes. Chapter 1575, Forgotten Rune Fragments. Yes, one word is enough to explain many things. Lin Mo was certain that the Human Emperor Network either had self-awareness or was being manipulated by someone behind it. Regardless of the possibility, one thing would not change, and that was for the sake of the human race. The meaning of the Human Emperor Network's existence is for the sake of the human race. Lin Mo never doubted this. It was this answer that made Lin Mo decide on his choice. He put away the poison bee mother's corpse and walked into the dark passage. The aura of the great world gradually disappeared, and the power of the Human Emperor Network also became weaker and weaker. The sound of water came from ahead, and then Lin Mo saw a layer of water curtain. He couldn't see where the water came from, but it formed a layer of water curtain right in front of him. The water fell on the ground, and the ground was strangely dry, without a trace of water. This is not ordinary water. His soul instinctively opened his eyes and switched to the perspective of the beyond realm. But still couldn't see anything. It was the same with the undead vision. It seemed to be the most ordinary water, but it had an extraordinary appearance. Without origin, without destination, without beginning and without end. According to the laws of the great world, the situation in front of him could not occur. Power of rules. The rules here have been changed. Lin Mo could only think of this possibility. Someone changed the rules here, which caused the unusual phenomenon. After taking a deep breath, Lin Mo passed through the falling water curtain. The scene in front of him suddenly changed. He found that he had left the cave, and in front of him was a boundless plain. Looking around, he saw large patches of water, all floating in the air. The water floated in the air, turning into aerial pools. He could even see fish swimming in them. Lin Mo looked around, without any formations, and couldn't feel any external force. Only changing the rules would cause this bizarre scene. Just as Lin Mo stepped into this area, the giant hand covered with runes in the flower sea where he had just entered the secret realm rose a large section again. The entire wrist had already protruded from the earth. The wrist was also covered with runes, shining brightly. It was still struggling, trying desperately to leave the earth completely. But a large number of runes also appeared in the air, stopping it and preventing it from leaving. The two sides wrestled with each other, and for a time it was difficult to determine the winner. In the core area of the God City, within a void, there was a raging flame burning. The flame was incredibly huge, its volume surpassing the total of dozens of galaxies. Outside the flame, several palaces floated. After the palaces had been baptized by the years, exuding an ancient and vast aura. A huge voice came from one of the palaces. He has entered the Poison Bee secret realm belonging to the 12,998 star region, the second stage. Immediately, another voice appeared. The second stage is very difficult. In tens of thousands of years, less than 10 people have passed. Someone corrected him. To be precise, it's 8 people. Whether it's 10 or 8, it doesn't matter. What matters is that no one has passed the last stage. The Human Emperor Network's penetration of the Poison Bee secret realm has only reached halfway. Perhaps, there is hope this time. If even he can't do it, then no one can. Lin Mo didn't know that many big shots had high hopes for him. At this moment, he was studying these water clusters floating in the air. He saw rune fragments in the water clusters again, and they were different from the rune fragments he had seen before. This was another part of the fragments. When he opened his Eye of Soul, wanting to observe carefully, his soul trembled violently. His soul power was instantly depleted by more than half, and Lin Mo also groaned, his Eye of Soul automatically closing. Lin Mo felt lingering fear. These rune fragments were obviously more terrifying and had higher requirements for realm. He was almost backfired. If his soul in the other shore realm was like this, if it was replaced by an ordinary God King, he would have his soul shattered on the spot with just one glance. He suddenly felt that his thinking was wrong. If it was an ordinary God King, he wouldn't be able to see these runes at all. If they couldn't see the runes, these problems wouldn't exist. Now that he thought about it, these runes were not originally meant for God Kings to see, even God Venerate realm experts probably couldn't see them. My realm is still not high enough. Lin Mo knew where his problem was. His soul was sufficient, but his cultivation realm was not high enough. Now Lin Mo was a little embarrassed. When his realm was high enough, he wouldn't be able to enter. But if his realm was not high enough, he couldn't see them. He didn't want to comprehend them, he just wanted to record the runes individually, but the results were not good. He didn't expect the difficulty of the runes in the second stage to increase so much. Just as he was thinking about what to do, he suddenly felt that he was being locked on. He raised his head and saw that in the nearest water cluster, several fish were staring at him. The next second, a fish rushed out of the water cluster. As soon as it left the water cluster, its body swelled against the wind, instantly becoming a behemoth 10 meters long. A powerful aura rushed towards him. These fish actually had the strength of the God King 9th Order. The skeleton God General appeared beside him, and in the next instant, sword energy crisscrossed, and the flying fish was instantly chopped into pieces. At the moment the fish died, all the water clusters collectively boiled. Sharp screams came from the water clusters. The water clusters seemed to have life, constantly deforming and baring their teeth and claws in the air. The fish in the water clusters, large and small, kept flying out and rushing towards Lin Mo. Their bodies immediately became dozens of times larger when they left the water cluster. In an instant, the air was filled with strange fish, their bared teeth and claws covering the sky and sun. More people. Lin Mo snapped his fingers with a look of disdain. The bone hell emerged. The hell world composed of gray and white colors almost instantly filled the sky, covering all the fish monsters in it. The flames in the bone hell erupted, the undying flames burned fiercely, and the slaves in hell attacked the fish monsters at the same time. There were a large number of fish monsters, more than 10,000, and their attack power was extremely strong. They could basically manipulate the water-based laws, spewing ice arrows and freezing the world. It would take a lot of time for the soldiers in the bone hell alone to kill them all. The strength of the bone hell depends on how strong the slaves in hell are. Now his slaves were not strong. There were only 3 small god venerates and a group of 3 race-allied forces. Although there were many 3 race-allied forces, their combat power was greatly reduced after losing the blessing of the battle formation. Not many of the wonders of the spirit could reach the God King 9th Order. And all the fish monsters were at the God King 9th Order. The skeleton god general joined the battle in the next moment. The bone hell turned into a battlefield, and a large number of fish monsters were killed by the skeleton god general. Beams of light rose in hell, and rune fragments emerged in the light. Lin Mo stubbornly used the Eye of Soul again to check the rune fragments, and his soul power was greatly depleted again. He only remembered a part of the fragments, and his soul power had been consumed by more than half. Fortunately, his soul power recovered extremely quickly and would recover soon. He tried a few more times stubbornly, but the results were the same. Moreover, Lin Mo suddenly discovered something. In the first stage, he recorded 10 rune fragments. He was shocked to find that he had forgotten what the 10 rune fragments looked like. Now, no matter how he recalled, he couldn't remember the essence of the runes, and even their shape was gradually being forgotten. Lin Mo sighed, with a trace of helplessness. It seems that things at this level are really not something I can come into contact with. Now he deeply understood the gap brought about by realm. The huge realm difference meant that even if he temporarily remembered it, he would forget it soon after. He thought of a sentence Antares once said, "Don't touch what's not yours. It's useless to touch it, you won't get it anyway." Chapter 1576. Rune Gold Rain, Using Stone as an Umbrella. After entering the secret realm and discovering the rune fragments, Lin Mo had been trying to record the runes. As long as there was a glimmer of opportunity, he wanted to try, even if he knew he was aiming too high. After all, it is difficult for anyone to resist the temptation brought by high-level power. Until this moment, Lin Mo finally understood. Indeed, this was not a level he could come into contact with yet. He put away all his curiosity, stopped thinking about the rune fragments, and began to focus on the mission. The skeleton god general rushed into the bone hell and quickly killed the fish monsters. A few minutes later, tens of thousands of fish monsters were slaughtered. The water clusters in the air were still clear, but the fish monsters inside were dead, and the water clusters were empty. There were still rune fragments flowing on the water clusters. But Lin Mo didn't want to look at them anymore. He knew that even if he forced himself to remember them, he would forget them soon after. This was not a level of power that he could come into contact with, so there was no need to force it. But at this moment, he found that the water clusters were shining. After the fish monsters died, the empty water clusters changed again. From all directions, hundreds of huge water clusters suddenly flew to high altitude collectively. They flew to a height of 10,000 meters, and then exploded with a bang. The entire sky lit up, and the clear water suddenly became golden and dazzling. The next second, a magnificent rain of gold fell from the sky, rendering the entire world golden. An unsettling feeling arose in his heart, his soul sending a warning: danger was approaching. Where was the danger coming from? There were no enemies around, and the undead vision detected nothing. When he activated the Eye of the Soul again, Lin Mo trembled and abruptly closed his eyes. He knew where the danger was coming from: the golden rain falling from the sky. What was falling from the sky wasn't golden rain at all, but fragments of runes. "I can't let this rain touch me." Instinct told him that getting touched by this rain wouldn't be a good thing. The bone hell appeared around him, rising with grayish-white mist to block the rain. The chanting of Buddhist scriptures began, and the Buddhist lich appeared beside him. Spell: Truth-Seeking. Lin Mo used the golden rain as a guide, invoking the laws of fate to glimpse the future. In the feedback from the laws of fate, Lin Mo saw glimpses of possible future events. The golden rain grew heavier, falling continuously. The entire earth was glowing with golden light. The bone hell was gradually dissolved in the golden rain, eventually collapsing. Then, he was enveloped in golden rain, turning into a golden statue covered in rune fragments. The vision ended there, and Lin Mo felt a chill in his heart. If he couldn't find a solution, he might be trapped here forever. He now had two paths before him. One was to find a way to deal with the golden rain, and the other was to use an escape talisman to leave the secret realm. The future he saw wasn't the real future, but what would happen if he did nothing? A large number of skeleton generals rushed out, turning into streaks of light and heading in all directions. Lin Mo wanted to find a way out. The golden rain might not cover the entire secret realm, perhaps there were places without it. But the result disappointed him. After flying only 10,000 kilometers, the skeleton generals suddenly slowed down. Their bodies were covered in golden raindrops, turning them into golden skeletons covered in rune fragments. Their speed decreased more and more, and after only a few seconds, they stopped moving completely. The connection between the skeleton generals and him was completely severed, and he could no longer contact them. The skeleton generals were dead, and there was no chance of resurrection. His talent and passive spells were rendered useless at that moment. This change gave Lin Mo a creepy feeling. The skeleton generals weren't dead, but he had lost contact with them, and he could no longer control them. It was as if they had been forcibly stripped from the undead legion and were no longer members of it. Then, neither passive spells nor talents would have any effect on them. Judging from the skeleton general's reaction, if he were enveloped in the golden rain and covered in runes, he would also have no chance of rebirth. These rune fragments were extremely terrifying. Lin Mo held the escape talisman in his hand. If things were truly irreversible, he wouldn't force it, saving his life was the priority. The Buddha's chanting sounded again, and Lin Mo used the truth-seeking spell for the second time. This time, still using the golden rain as a guide, Lin Mo chose to rush towards the sky in an attempt to save himself. Perhaps flying in other directions could also lead to escape, but he didn't know which direction was correct. He only had 3 chances with the truth-seeking spell, and now he had only 2 left, leaving Lin Mo with few choices. Lin Mo chose to go upward, to break through the clouds. Perhaps there was a glimmer of hope. The truth-seeking spell gave him the result. In the future vision, he was like a rocket, shooting straight into the sky. The closer he got to the clouds, the denser the golden rain became, and the bone hell dissolved faster and faster. He seemed to be hindered by some kind of great force, and his flying speed became slower and slower. This scene was exactly the same as what happened to the skeleton generals before. The bone hell rapidly collapsed under the impact of the golden rain. He was enveloped in golden rain, unable to move, and fell from the sky, crashing heavily to the ground. The vision ended there. Lin Mo's face was ashen. Charging upwards was ineffective. 0 AAAAA seeking fresh flowers 0 AAAAAA. Then, heading in any random direction, the probability. The chances of survival were very small. The mist of the bone hell was collapsing, and Lin Mo didn't have much time left. In fact, his best choice now was to activate the escape talisman and leave. But Lin Mo really didn't want to give up. He had one last chance with the truth-seeking spell, and he wanted to try again. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and Lin Mo's face showed joy. I know. He thought of how to deal with the golden rain. In the previous vision, in the last second, he smashed into the ground, creating a large pit. The earth was not solid and could be destroyed. And when he used the truth-seeking spell for the first time, although the earth was also glowing with golden light, it absorbed the runes and was not enveloped in golden rain. The earth could resist the invasion of the golden rain. Lin Mo gently pressed his palm down, and the power of the God King permeated, causing the earth to rumble and crack. A square, 100-meter-sided cuboid of rock was forcibly extracted. The edges of the rock were as sharp as a blade, as smooth as a mirror. The rock was not small, and it was extremely heavy. The density of matter in the secret realm was far greater than that of ordinary stars. The weight of this rock exceeded the total weight of several planets. But for Lin Mo, it was still easy, not much pressure. The skeleton generals came to the 4 corners of the rock, lifting the rock in place of Lin Mo. Not much pressure didn't mean he liked holding it. If the skeleton generals could do it for him, why bother himself? The rock was used as an umbrella to block the golden rain. Just as Lin Mo thought, the earth of the secret realm could resist the golden rain. The last truth-seeking spell was saved. He randomly chose a direction, and the skeleton generals quickly advanced, dragging the rock. The golden rain continued to fall, and the secret realm seemed very large. After flying for a long time, they still hadn't flown out of the golden rain's range. An hour later, the flying rock stopped. Lin Mo's expression was complicated as he looked at the golden pool on the ground, slightly frowning. The golden pool was square, 100 meters on each side, and 100 meters deep. It was the place where he had dug out the rock. After flying for an hour, they had actually returned to the starting point. Is it an array, runes, or because of the rules? Lin Mo thought for a moment and decided to try again. He flew in another direction, and an hour later, he saw the pit again. After an hour of golden rain irrigation, the pool had more water. Let's change direction again. Lin Mo changed direction again. 7. A massive rock ascended, soaring towards the sky. Lin Mo's idea of changing direction wasn't about moving forward, backward, left, or right, but rather directly upwards, towards the sky. The cardinal directions were irrelevant. Lin Mo surmised that breaking through the sky and the cloud layer was the correct path out of the secret realm. As they approached the sky, the pressure on the skeleton god generals increased significantly. Each drop of golden rain felt like a massive fist, crashing onto the giant rock with a deafening roar. Initially, only 4 skeleton god generals were supporting the rock. As the pressure intensified, their speed decreased. Lin Mo added several more skeleton god generals to the effort. The skeleton god generals were minor god sovereigns, possessing immense strength. In terms of physical power, the skeleton god sovereigns far surpassed ordinary minor god sovereigns. If even they were struggling, one could imagine the impact force of the golden rain. Lin Mo felt the impact of the golden raindrops and understood the situation. With the power of a minor god sovereign, one can indeed break through the golden rain blockade. However, the rock cannot be too large, its length and width must not exceed 10 meters. The larger the rock, the more golden rain it would attract, thus increasing the pressure. The secret realm's level restriction was God King rank 9, and there were many geniuses among the humans, capable of unleashing minor god sovereign level power at God King rank 9. By carefully controlling the size of the rock, one could naturally withstand the golden rain and break through the cloud layer. Lin Mo was never arrogant. If he could devise a solution, others could as well, for the world was never short of intelligent individuals. Dozens of skeleton god generals supported the giant rock, enduring the golden rain, and forcefully broke through the cloud layer. The scenery changed, and bright light shone down. Lin Mo stood above the clouds, admiring the floating clouds and beautiful scenery. In the distance, a star-like sphere of light slowly rose, like the gentle rising sun, filling one with peace and joy. Suddenly, a sense of foreboding washed over him. Almost instinctively, Lin Mo flew away, reaching the other side of the giant rock. In an instant, countless golden beams shot up from below. It was a spectacular sight, like a waterfall flowing upwards. The skeleton god generals couldn't evade in time and were hit by the upward flowing beams, instantly transforming into golden skeletons and losing connection. The golden skeleton god generals, like statues, fell from the sky, back into the cloud layer. Lin Mo reached out and firmly gripped the giant rock. At that moment, only the giant rock could block the golden beams. Sheltered behind the rock, Lin Mo was safe, but he had lost dozens of skeleton god generals. The attack had come too suddenly. Emerging from the clouds and seeing the warm sun was the most relaxing moment. For the light beams to strike at such a moment, one would easily be caught off guard. Lin Mo was still shaken. This secret realm was more dangerous than any dungeon he had ever experienced. The danger didn't come from the enemies within the secret realm, but from the rules of the secret realm. Even he couldn't resist the power of the rules, and could only adapt to them to find a solution. The golden beams erupted from the clouds below, gradually disappearing after a few seconds. The clouds completely dispersed, and as if the sun broke through the clouds, Lin Mo saw the earth again. At that moment, the earth was covered in golden water, the secret realm's land had transformed into a swamp. The consequences of falling in were unimaginable. The warm sun-like sphere of light in the distance seemed to grow larger, rapidly approaching. Lin Mo became vigilant and summoned dozens more skeleton god generals to hold the giant rock. This time, he learned from his mistakes, positioning skeleton god generals on all sides of the rock. This way, no matter where the attack came from, they could respond calmly. The sphere of light grew larger in his vision, rapidly approaching. It wasn't until the distance was less than 10,000 miles that Lin Mo realized it wasn't a sphere of light at all. It was a large mass of golden water, composed of rune fragments. This mass of golden light was thousands of kilometers in diameter, resembling a small star. Countless dense runes flickered on its surface, emitting dazzling golden light. Though beautiful, Lin Mo knew it was extremely deadly. The golden water mass stopped, and its shape began to change. Gradually, it transformed into a water dragon, composed of golden runes. In terms of appearance, it was identical to the divine dragons of the dragon race. In terms of power level, it wasn't strong, only God King rank 9, not even a minor god sovereign. But it was extremely dangerous because it was impossible to touch it. Even a god sovereign would be petrified by the runes inside, making it difficult to escape. A dragon's roar echoed through the secret realm. The water dragon spewed dragon breath, which was also composed of golden water masses, filled with runes. Damn it, Lin Mo was still observing, not expecting the attack to come so fiercely. Without thinking, he immediately hid behind the giant rock. The dragon breath collided with the giant rock, and the immense force sent the rock flying backwards. The skeleton god generals on the side facing the water dragon instantly turned golden and fell from the sky. As Lin Mo expected, contact meant death. Lin Mo couldn't sit idly by. Since he couldn't touch it, he would attack from a distance. Anyway, he had plenty of skeletons. A large number of skeleton god generals appeared in the air, unleashing powerful sword energy. The minor god sovereign level attacks landed on the water dragon, shattering it. The water dragon exploded into a rain of water, falling into the golden swamp. Did I solve it? Lin Mo was slightly stunned. It was too easy. But the next second, a giant wave surged from the golden swamp, and the water dragon reappeared. It spewed out a large amount of dragon breath again. The dragon breath turned into water, like a waterfall flowing backwards, covering the sky and earth. Lin Mo changed position again, using the giant rock to block the golden water flow. The skeleton god generals scattered, trying to avoid contact with the golden water. They unleashed sword energy again, and the water dragon couldn't withstand the skeleton god general's attacks, and exploded. The golden water column crashed onto the ground, merging with the swamp. In less than half a second, the water dragon reappeared. But this time, the skeleton god general struck first, destroying it directly before it could attack. But in less than half a second, the water dragon reappeared. Lin Mo watched the water dragon being killed again and again. Does this thing also have a talent for rebirth like me? The answer was naturally impossible. He knew the water dragon must be able to remain immortal because of some special rule. There must be something he hadn't discovered. He activated his undead vision and saw the water dragon's soul fire. The soul fire also met the God King rank 9 standard, and other than the golden water, the water dragon had nothing special. The problem now was that no matter how many times the water dragon died, its soul was never harmed. For the water dragon, the water that covered the entire secret realm was its body. As long as the soul was not injured, it would be forever difficult to kill it. But where is the soul? Lin Mo tried to lock onto its soul but found it impossible. The soul seemed to be constantly changing its position, never fixed in one place. The soul would ascend with the water dragon, and after the water dragon died, the soul would fall back into the water. This process was unstoppable. As the water dragon was killed time and time again, Lin Mo finally noticed some clues. Each time the water dragon was blown apart, it would turn into a large amount of golden water falling back into the water. Among these large amounts of golden water, there were water clusters and water droplets of varying sizes. But each time, there would be one water cluster that was particularly bright. Lin Mo realized that this special water cluster was the key to killing the water dragon. However, the position of this water cluster was different each time, making it difficult to predict in advance. Since it was difficult to predict, then he wouldn't predict. Lin Mo decided to solve it with a simple method. Chapter 1578. The same problem as before. The sky was densely packed with tens of thousands of skeleton god generals. When the water dragon appeared again, pure white sword energy fell, instantly blasting the water dragon apart. The water dragon exploded into countless water droplets, about to fall into the water. Then, overwhelming sword energy fell wave after wave, giving the water dragon no chance to return to the water. Not only the water dragon, but even the water covered by the sword energy was forcibly struck into a piece of dry land. Golden water and sword energy cancelled each other out, annihilating each other. The sword energy of the skeleton god generals was far inferior to the rune fragments in the water cluster in terms of power level. But they had the advantage in numbers, continuously attacking. And the rune fragments were only the remaining power left from that year. Moreover, it was only a trace of the remaining power, not even a trace. Finally, in the sky full of sword energy, Lin Mo saw that special water cluster. While other golden water was dissolving with the sword energy, this special water cluster persisted unyieldingly in the sword energy. However, it no longer had the chance to fall back into the water, and waves of sword energy came from all directions, landing on it. Striking it until it hummed, yet it couldn't escape. The skeleton god generals controlled their power extremely precisely, giving it no chance to fall. Lin Mo seemed to hear the water dragon's roar, but it was useless. Under the continuous attack, the special water cluster finally couldn't withstand it and collapsed with a bang. It exploded into a large number of water droplets, and the water droplets were annihilated by the sword energy of the skeleton god generals. This time, the water dragon truly died and did not revive again. Lin Mo exhaled, still vigilantly looking around, not relaxing because of this. In this kind of secret realm, if you relax your vigilance, you might lose your life. Several seconds later, the water disappeared, and the earth returned to normal. The giant stone in midair also automatically turned into light spots and disappeared. Only then did Lin Mo confirm that he had passed the second stage. Looking back, the second level wasn't particularly difficult. As long as you were careful and alert enough, you could generally pass it. The most difficult water dragon could actually be solved. After destroying it, you just needed to find a way to prevent it from returning to the water. Leaving the water, it could not be reborn. You could completely use stones to catch all the water clusters after the water dragon died, so that the water dragon would be completely killed. For others, this was the best way. However, Lin Mo chose a simpler and more brutal method to solve this problem. The earth rumbled, and a golden stone pillar rose from the ground. The stone pillar was engraved with complex runes. After seeing the runes on the stone pillar, Lin Mo had a strange sense of familiarity. Then he patted his head and laughed to himself, "I'm so stupid." The runes on the stone pillar were still just a corner of the complete rune. But it was the culmination of all the rune fragments in the secret realm. Although Lin Mo had forgotten the runes he had recorded before, he still remembered what he had done. It was precisely because he had tried to memorize those runes that he had a strange sense of familiarity. Now it seemed that there was no need to memorize them at all. If you really had this ability, looking at the runes on the pillar would be enough, and you could even skip the process of piecing them together. If it were in the past, Lin Mo would have tried his best to memorize a corner of the rune. But now he wouldn't do that. He knew that it was useless to remember it, and he would forget it before long. He would only remember that he had memorized a very terrifying and powerful rune, but he couldn't know what the rune he memorized was like. In that case, what was the point of remembering it? Lin Mo just glanced at it and stopped paying attention. A black vortex appeared around him again. The aura of the Great World mixed with the power of the Human Emperor network was transmitted from the vortex. At the same time, there was also a reminder from the Human Emperor network. The second stage of the Poisonous Bee Secret Realm exploration mission is complete. You can now choose to leave or continue the third stage exploration. Rewards will be settled after you leave the secret realm. Rewards will be doubled according to your mission progress. Please note, the third stage mission is extremely dangerous, and the escape talisman may fail. Lin Mo could understand the first two sentences. But the third one, Lin Mo felt a little strange. In the third reminder, there was obviously an element of enticement. The Human Emperor network seemed to want him to continue the mission. Especially the fourth sentence, which told him that the third stage mission was very dangerous. The Human Emperor network seems to want me to continue the mission, but it also seems not to want me to do it. The contradiction is very obvious. A mission that can be described as extremely dangerous by the Human Emperor network must be really dangerous. At least in the second stage, the Human Emperor network didn't say that. In the second stage, the Human Emperor network only said that the danger level of the mission would be greatly increased, but now it was extremely dangerous. The Human Emperor network was always very strict in its wording. Different words, even if they had similar meanings, had completely different internal meanings. A significant increase in the danger level in the second stage meant that someone had still completed the second stage mission. But the third stage was extremely dangerous. In Lin Mo's understanding, no one had ever completed this mission. Lin Mo pondered for a long time, and through the vortex of the exit, he communicated with the Human Emperor network and raised his question. Is the third stage mission beneficial to you? The question was exactly the same as before. After a moment, the Human Emperor network had an answer. The Human Emperor network's answer was the same as before, a simple yes. After Lin Mo got the answer, he took a deep breath. Since that's the case, then let's try it. He believed in his strength. If even he couldn't complete it, then no one could. No matter how perverted the rules were, there would always be a glimmer of hope. Just like the situation he encountered in the second stage, he believed that he could always find a way to break it. Lin Mo flew towards the rune pillar. Inside the palace outside the fireball in the core area of the Divine City, the majestic voice sounded again. He has made his choice. I guess he should choose to continue to the third stage. That's right, 820. He is very confident in his strength. No, that's only one aspect. The reason he chose this is more because he is a human. Let's also prepare. We might be able to get this corner of the rune. If he has hope, we must try our best to save him. That's natural. The voice gradually faded. The flames in the void were still burning fiercely. Inside the poison bee's secret realm, the giant hand covered with runes stretched out a lot further again. At first, it was just the palm, then the wrist, and now even the arm has stretched out. The arm is also covered with runes. These are the runes from the second stage. The previous runes are also there, but now they have become clearer. The giant hand reached towards the sky and clenched as if to grasp something. Lin Mo was unaware of all the changes. He followed his heart, and he was very firm in his choice, without any extra distractions. He came to the stone pillar. Standing in front of the 10,000-meter-high stone pillar, Lin Mo was like a speck of dust, so inconspicuous. Lin Mo didn't recognize the runes on the stone pillar. He only knew that it was part of a complete rune, a corner. It was only a part, but it was already very powerful. He used his soul power to communicate with the stone pillar. The stone pillar rumbled, and the runes shone brightly. The world in front of Lin Mo suddenly became blurred, and an irresistible force fell around him, fell on him. The rules have been changed. Chapter 1579. The third stage is indeed very dangerous. The moment the scene blurred, a large number of skeleton divine generals appeared around Lin Mo. This was an instinct. The secret realm was too dangerous, and accidents could happen at any time. Lin Mo felt that he was being teleported, and the rules around him were being changed. His first reaction was to summon the skeleton divine generals and shroud himself in the bone hell. The vision continued to blur, and nothing could be seen. Whether using the soul eye of the other shore realm or the undead vision, it was impossible to see the surrounding situation clearly. The soul's perception also became blurred, and some things could be faintly sensed, but they were hazy. In this completely unfavorable situation, the skeleton divine generals transmitted a lot of information. They were under attack. For other cultivators, fighting when the eyes cannot see is absolutely disadvantageous. Although cultivators do not rely on the naked eye, they rely heavily on soul perception. If both abilities are affected, then the combat power will also be greatly affected. Lin Mo immediately ordered the skeleton divine generals to counterattack. Although they couldn't lock onto the target, the skeleton divine generals could still counterattack by relying on their numbers. Lin Mo summoned more skeleton divine generals and launched attacks in all directions. If they couldn't find the enemy, they would use a saturation attack method to cover all directions. The attacks the skeleton divine generals received were very strong, exceeding the 9th rank of divine king and reaching the level of a lesser divine lord. Faced with attacks at the lesser divine lord level, the skeleton divine generals were constantly injured, and the injuries were very serious. Lin Mo snapped his fingers, and the Legion ruler emerged in response to heal the skeleton divine generals. As time went by, the opponent's attacks seemed to become more and more intense. The damage suffered by the skeleton divine generals became even more serious. Although the Legion ruler could still heal, Lin Mo summoned more and more of them. At this time, even the Legion ruler was under attack. The attack did not know where it came from, and did not know what method or what laws were used. Only know that the attack is all round. No matter how many skeleton divine generals, how many Legion rulers, will be attacked at the same time. And the degree of attack they received is exactly the same. Because of the realm, the damage suffered by the Legion ruler is even worse than that of the skeleton divine generals. Most of the Legion rulers' healing spells are cast for themselves. Only Lin Mo, the master, did not receive any attacks for some reason. This is not a solution. Lin Mo knew in his heart that if the attack increased without limit, his undead legion would collapse sooner or later. Of course, he could also gamble that this attack has a limit. But he didn't dare to gamble, because this is the power of rules. In the face of the power of rules, he couldn't afford to gamble. With his eyes unable to see, Lin Mo quickly went through the entire process in his mind. He suddenly realized that the Legion ruler was not attacked when it first appeared. It was only after the Legion ruler healed the skeleton divine generals that it was attacked. In other words, apart from the first wave of attacks, the subsequent attacks are passive, not active. Try it. With a thought in his mind, a skeleton divine general appeared beside him. This skeleton divine general remained motionless, without launching any attacks. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. 10 seconds passed, and he was not attacked in any way. Lin Mo knew that he had guessed correctly. Apart from the first wave of attacks, the subsequent attacks were passive. It was because of his order to counterattack that the skeleton divine generals were attacked. The Legion ruler was also treated equally because it healed the skeleton divine generals. Now he has two choices. One is to let the current 100,000 skeleton divine generals and 10,000 legion rulers withstand the attacks until they reach their upper limit and then be destroyed. This loss is not much to him and can be completely tolerated. Being able to tolerate it is one thing, but whether or not he is willing to tolerate it is another. Lin Mo didn't want his undead legion to sacrifice in vain. It's not that the undead legion can't die, but they can't be sent to their deaths for no reason. Without too much entanglement and consideration, Lin Mo completely acted from his heart and made a decision in the next second. The bone hell instantly expanded and enveloped all the skeleton divine generals. Lin Mo joined the battle with his own method. His action was obviously regarded as launching an attack. A wave of attacks fell, including Lin Mo. The bone hell shook violently and kept shaking. The skeleton divine generals and legion rulers were also attacked. The attack ignored the bone hell's obstruction and fell on them in a way that Lin Mo could not understand. Mark, Lin Mo whispered in his heart. One of the functions of bone hell is to mark attackers. The marked object can be soul locked. Sure enough, a mark appeared in Lin Mo's consciousness. The next second, his soul locked onto it. No need to see it. Anything marked could be locked onto, unable to escape. Attack, he lightly shouted in his heart, and the 100,000 skeleton divine generals simultaneously swung their swords, attacking the target. Sword energy swept out, and a patch of pure white appeared in the blurry vision. Boom! An even more violent counterattack appeared, and the undead legion was once again subjected to a fierce attack. The legion commander was busy healing, and all the skeleton divine generals were surrounded by white light. Lin Mo felt that the marked object was not unscathed. It was indeed injured, but not strongly enough. He hardened his heart, and even more skeleton divine generals appeared. If 100,000 skeleton divine generals weren't enough, then 1,000,000 would do. As long as this space could accommodate them, even 10 times more wouldn't be a problem. Pure white sword energy filled this strange space, as if something was being torn apart, and Lin Mo heard a scream. The vision in front of him brightened, then quickly returned to normal. He saw a monster, looking at him in horror. This monster was round all over, covered in sharp thorns. Seeing it, Lin Mo thought of a seafood called sea urchin. When he was in the small world, many people liked to eat sea urchin. It's just that this sea urchin monster was hundreds or thousands of times larger. It was at least 1,000 meters long, its round body covered in sharp thorns, with hundreds of eyes among the thorns. These eyes all showed the same emotion, fear. In the areas where there were no eyes, Lin Mo saw a rune. It looked a bit like a corner of the rune on the stone pillar, but it wasn't quite the same. The rune had been broken by him, and the sea urchin monster had been hurt in the process. That's right, it was this rune that affected my vision just now and launched an indiscriminate attack against me. Lin Mo quickly made a judgment. The sea urchin monster's strength was average, only a lesser god sovereign. It wasn't much stronger than the skeleton divine generals. Even an ordinary human lesser god sovereign could kill it. Its strongest point should be this rune. Lin Mo didn't recognize this rune, but he knew that this rune contained the power of rules and could launch strange attacks. The sea urchin monster screamed, as if warning Lin Mo, then turned and fled. Want to escape? Dream on. The skeleton divine generals quickly took action, sword energy crisscrossing, engulfing it. Without the rune, the sea urchin monster faced with 1,000,000 skeleton divine generals had no other choice but to die. After killing the sea urchin monster, Lin Mo didn't feel much relief. If he didn't have the bone hell, he was afraid that this level would have been difficult to pass. If it were another cultivator, even a lesser god sovereign entering here, I am afraid they would be helpless. As the attacks grew stronger and stronger, in the end, they could only die regretting. The third stage is indeed very dangerous. Chapter 1580, The Difference Between Laws and Rules. The sea urchin monster died. It didn't emit a golden beam of light, nor did golden light spots fly out. Its corpse disappeared silently, leaving behind a broken rune fragment in the void. For safety's sake, Lin Mo didn't directly take the rune fragment, but instead sent a skeleton divine general over. The skeleton divine general came into contact with the rune, and nothing happened. After waiting for a while, confirming that there were no problems, the skeleton divine general brought the rune back. There was no other way. In this situation, everything had to be done carefully. One slip, and what awaited him was death and the dissipation of his Tao. No one knew what the rules had been changed to. Faced with the rules, Lin Mo felt that his power level was too low to resist. He took the rune and examined it carefully. Originally, the rune on the stone pillar was just a corner of a complete rune. The rune in front of him was just a fragment, even smaller. Its essence was the same as the rune fragments on the poisonous bees and fish monsters, only it was more complete and stronger than them. The degree of the rune fragments completely changed the power that could be exerted. The poisonous bees contained the fewest rune fragments, so they were the weakest. The fish monsters in the second stage were stronger, and those golden water droplets were even stronger. Now, the sea urchin monster in the third stage had become even stronger. The changes in the runes were not only more powerful at the level of power, but also produced some strange effects. For example, the golden rain that could turn people to gold in the second stage, and the sea urchin monster's almost infinitely counter-attacking rune, were all like this. Lin Mo didn't know what changes the next rune would have, so he could only be more careful. The rune fragment was covered with cracks and had been broken. Now it only had a shape and had already lost its spirit. However, Lin Mo could still feel its difference. It looked like a broken jade tablet, full of impurities. But in reality, it was not a jade tablet, but transformed from the power of rules. This alone was enough to show its extraordinary nature. If it were examined from the perspective of materials, its level should have reached the other shore realm. If it fell into someone else's hands, it would be useless, it would just be a discarded high-level item. But if it fell into Lin Mo's hands, perhaps I can use it to summon an elemental lich. Let's try. Lin Mo's eyes flickered, and an idea appeared in his mind. He would do it as soon as he thought of it. Anyway, even if he failed, he would not suffer any losses. He held the rune in his palm, trying to summon the elemental lich. The spell was successfully cast, and there were no problems. There's hope. Lin Mo was overjoyed. He realized that he might have an elemental lich of the other shore realm. Even if it wasn't the other shore realm, it would at least be a high-ranked god sovereign. It would be a great increase to his combat power. The rune seemed to be affected by some kind of power, and a trace of power hidden in the deepest part was hooked out, and the only trace of spirit was stimulated. The rune regained its vitality, illuminating the void. Lin Mo's excitement lasted less than 2 seconds, and accompanied by a crisp cracking sound, the rune completely shattered. It failed. He failed to summon the elemental lich. Is it because the rune is too broken, or is it because of the spell itself? Lin Mo thought, backtracking from the feedback he had just received. At the same time, he recalled the details of the elemental lich spell. After analyzing the situation when it was still a skill instead of a spell, I think I have an answer. I'm more than 70% sure that the problem lies with the spell itself. Back when the elemental lich was still a skill, I used it to summon a lich that exceeded the skill's level. The result was that the lich was extremely unstable and would self-destruct upon being summoned. I used this characteristic to my advantage, treating the elemental lich as a weapon and relying on it as my trump card to escape life-threatening situations several times. Now, it seems I'm encountering the same situation. The rune level is too high, while my own level is too low. Furthermore, summoning the elemental lich still relies on the power of laws, not yet having jumped to the level of rules. Although there's only a one-word difference between laws and rules, the gap between them is enormous. Using runes at the rule level as materials will naturally lead to failure. Even if it succeeded, it would likely be uncontrollable and self-destruct on the spot. I thought about many things, even the events that occurred in the Turu realm. This made me realize that my spells aren't omnipotent and have many limitations. Once they exceed the spell's capabilities, control will be lost, and bad things will happen. Therefore, the failure to summon the elemental lich this time might not be a bad thing. AGBF, if it had really succeeded, it might have been a big problem. Calming my mind and erasing my disappointment, I began to formally survey this space. The space in the third stage appears to be a desolate void. There's nothing in the space, just emptiness. The pure white skeleton god general became the only source of light. I waved out a piece of undead flame, turning it into a torch to illuminate the surroundings. Then, I had the skeleton god general fly in all directions to check the situation. The undead flame drew long lines of fire in the silent void. Just a dozen seconds later, the skeleton god general was suddenly attacked. The attack came very abruptly. The skeleton god general, while flying, was struck by a huge force and immediately lost its direction. Its pure white bones fractured one by one. With just one strike, the skeleton god general was almost shattered. The opponent's attack power was extremely strong, and it was a purely physical attack. The Legion ruler ignored the distance and directly began healing. I quickly connected to the skeleton god general's vision to find the opponent. In the void, a small god lord realm soul fire blazed fiercely. In the gray and white world, I saw its appearance. It was just a giant poisonous bee, over 100 meters in size, with a thick, long proboscis. The proboscis wasn't sharp. At the top of the proboscis was a glittering rune fragment. The moment I saw the giant poisonous bee, I instinctively knew that it was the Poison Bee King. So the Poison Bee King is at the small god lord realm, paired with a rune fragment possessing the power of rules. Are we supposed to run upon seeing it? Forget God King 9th level, even ordinary small god lords would have to flee upon seeing it. Just as I was observing the Poison Bee King, the rune on its proboscis suddenly lit up. Without seeing any action from the Poison Bee King, the skeleton god general was struck again. The bones that had just healed instantly fractured, and the injuries were even worse than before. This time, the power of the attack was even greater. The skeleton god general was sent flying, and the Poison Bee King appeared in the skeleton god general's original position. The whole process was so fast, it was like teleportation. So fast. My eyes narrowed slightly. I was connected to the skeleton god general's vision and personally felt the Poison Bee King's attack. This speed far exceeded that of a small god lord and even a god lord. Upon encountering the Poison Bee King, unless one immediately used an escape talisman, there might not even be a chance to run. This time, the Poison Bee King didn't give the skeleton god general a chance to recover. It twisted its body and launched another attack. Again, it was a teleportation-like attack. The skeleton god general didn't have time to react and was sent flying again. Its body exploded with a bang, all its bones completely shattered, leaving only its head intact. The soul fire inside its head was still vigorously beating. My heart stirred, and I wanted to retrieve it. But I didn't succeed. The skeleton god general had been locked onto by the Poison Bee King and couldn't be retrieved temporarily. The Poison Bee King shattered the skeleton god general's body with 3 strikes and began to launch a fierce attack on the remaining head. A pure white sword chi flew from afar. The Poison Bee King didn't dodge or evade, using the rune to face the sword chi head-on, crashing heavily into it.